Blynd Submyshynz, where DIY bands submit songs for us to listen and react to blind. Every week, we'll bring a guest from the underground music, arts, or entertainment scene to help you sort through mountains of new music. We go in blind, so you don't have to. Blynd Submyshynz.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to
Another episode
of
Blynd Submyshynz. This is JD Norton.
Hey, Jeff Wilson here. How's it going, man?
And we are back for another episode because that's what we do.
Back. We record. We have things coming up, so now we actually have to bank some episodes. So
Yeah.
we're cram in some extra recordings in here. Hey, everybody. Hit that sweet milestone on YouTube.
Yes.
I think by the time you hear this, we have already picked a winner.
We will have.
Yeah, so
we don't know who it is yet, but we will on Friday.
Check your Facebook and your Instagram, and we'll be in touch with whoever we pull, or maybe we'll have to reach you through YouTube.
Yes.
We'll see how it goes.
Be sure to watch, because I realized that I'm just going to use a random number generator to find somebody on YouTube out of our followers list. And there is no contact information, so there is no way to contact you other than posting something on Facebook and Instagram.
Well, if they're on YouTube, then we just make a little video.
Ooh.
Hey, yo, you want a record?
Yes, that's right. That's
what we'll
smart.
do. That's what we'll do.
Look at that.
Check out the big brain on Brad. Hey, points if you get that movie reference.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we have a kick-ass guest here.
Yeah, we do.
Daron from Pinkish Black.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I don't know how many of you are fans, and so as I was getting ready for putting this episode together, I had a really good idea that drives me crazy that it's just happening for the first time now.
That's a really good idea.
Which is, what would be really cool is that when we say we're having blah, blah, blah on, then we play a little bit of their music right before they come on, so the people who are about to listen to this person and maybe have never heard them have a sense for what it is that they sound like.
Smart.
So we're going to do that
Super
tonight.
Smart.
For the first time.
Nice. You got it? All right.
I do. So
any
other so that means we got to that magic number of 100 subscribers on YouTube. Again, This is primarily an audio podcast. We put the videos together because why not? We can, but
it's also a good way to shorten it.
Yeah, and it's funny, the audience is building on both platforms, on all the platforms, and you can kind of feel some momentum gathering, which is fun.
Momentum.
All we're doing, to be totally transparent here, we're not spending any money on anything other than the shit that we needed in order to produce the podcast. So we're not running ads like fucking crazy or buying followers on any of the social platforms. Maybe we're dumb. Maybe
it's called organic.
Yeah, we're gonna grow this thing organically.
We're building an organic following.
Yeah, because it's a hobby, and that's all it's meant to be at this point.
We're doing this for us.
It's likely. I haven't checked. That because most of the YouTube videos are copyright claimed.
Yeah.
That there are commercials. If there are commercials,
are there?
They're not our commercials.
No, they're not ours.
The labels and the artists are collecting the money for the commercials.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly. So you know what? Go watch our videos, because we're not making any money on them.
But
the label and the artist might be.
Hopefully the artist will. Lots of room for commercials in a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah, no shit. Probably squeeze a ton of commercials in there.
Only the best commercials.
Oh
yeah. So this should be a good time. Pinkish Black is an interesting artist. At this point, they're a duo from Fort Worth, just outside of Dallas, Texas. I know I saw them in Texas. I think it was in and around South by Southwest when we were on tour there. But it also might have been on one of a bunch of other trips, because I find myself in Austin for work a decent amount, just like Boston. Isn't that a nice coincidence? Austin and Boston. And they're great. It's how do you describe it? JD and I were talking.
They've been described so many different ways, like synth sci-fi doom, synth doom.
Yeah, you got live drums, sometimes processed heavily. I think maybe some electronic stuff thrown in there too. You have real guitars. You have a whole bunch of synth work.
Tons of synth.
At times, it sounds like you're listening to pretty straightforward doom. In fact, the song that I'm gonna kick this off with before we bring Daron on, I think I picked because it's on the more straightforward side. At other times, you're listening to just ambient, I don't know what, and then sometimes it sounds like a killer soundtrack
to a horror movie,
or like a
dark sci-fi.
Yeah, after today's listening, I was like, this could have easily been, Vangelis had a heart attack. He's not available to do the Blade Runner 2149 soundtrack. This is an interesting updated take. Obviously not with the singing and stuff because there are vocals. Yeah. But just the instrumental side of it would, to me, fit really well in a setting like that. So it's a really cool listen because it's I don't know, evokes a different mood. Kind of like Cavern Deep. It's not the same mood as Cavern Deep.
Yeah, completely.
It's unique in how it makes me feel different.
It's definitely a mood
than most stuff that I listen to. Yeah, I like it a lot.
I like it.
So to kick this whole thing off, let's just have a quick listen to
some business.
Some Pinkish Black here. This is off their latest studio release, which I believe came out in 2019.
I think like mid-year, June probably.
Concept Unification is the name of the album. Yeah. And why don't I go ahead and just share the screen real quick so that you can see this here. This is who we're dealing with.
This is
the second song on Concept Unification, and it's called Until by Pinkish Black. And then we'll bring Daron on and get started. So let's just listen to a little bit of this to get some flavor.
I love this business.
Yeah, isn't it? It's good stuff,
so
right?
Good.
All right, so
good.
So now that my daughter is attempting to call me here, I'll show you this one. You can't see it.
Yeah.
I don't know why she's calling me. She's literally in a room half a house away from her mother.
She needs to order dinner.
Do
you want any?
Here's what we need to do live on the
air,
live on the podcast.
Didn't we do this with John
dear
from
Stella,
Moontooth?
Yes, we did. Am recording podcast. Stop.
Let's say something about this tonight because
Ask
my oldest texted me as well and said, "Hey, would you like to have a conversation?" I'm like, "Oh, this is when we decide to do this."
Really?
Because I would love to.
Now, and it's so weird for her to call me but not text me. Man, we're getting in the weeds with my family business.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right
then.
Let's get Daron on here.
Let's stop.
Let's do this podcast.
Let's stop share.
This is the business.
Let's admit.
Okay.
And 3, 2, 1.
Countdown.
Half, a quarter, an eighth, and there he is. Hey, Darren.
Oh, sorry. Okay, there we go.
We have Daron Beck here. How's it going, Daron?
I'm good. How are y'all?
We're good. We just shortly before we brought you on, I'm like in the middle of recording. Someone's trying to call me. My wife and my daughter are apparently trying to get in touch with me.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
So who knows where that's going to go? I'll just keep my phone down there and kind of keep an eye on it a little bit and see what comes next.
How are things in Fort Worth?
Yeah, how's Fort Worth?
It's pretty slow these days. Not a lot happening here. Just a lot of staying around the house for the most part still. Thankfully, I've gotten fully vaccinated,
oh, nice.
Oh, you lucky dog. How'd it go?
It was fine. It was fine. No, I've pre-existing health conditions that garnered a early dosage. So you know.
That's right. You did. You had some issues a couple years back, right?
Yeah. Thankfully, everything's been okay since then. But
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Glad you're still here.
And that is indeed what they're texting me about right now because I have an appointment tomorrow afternoon. And then I just got a text from my wife that's like, just wanted to tell you another location has appointments tomorrow and you qualify. And it's guaranteed to be the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So the one shotter. So I don't know.
Right.
Shotter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited. I honestly, I was talking to, I have a 13-year-old and she hates getting shots. And I was like, I got to tell you, I'm actually looking forward to this shot. Even the pain of it, I kind of feel like I want. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I think we earned this.
We earned it.
A little bit of ouch.
Yeah, it's just crazy that who would have ever thought? Oh, I'm so excited about getting a vaccine. You know, that's the world we're living in now. Though,
yeah, exactly. That's crazy. It's crazy.
The last year said, hey, you want to learn how to be excited about getting a vaccine?
Yeah,
we can get you there.
You want to see what it was like in the 1800s?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, obviously, we know you're in a band. Before we brought you on, we just played a little bit of the music so that the folks who are listening to this but have never heard you guys before could get a little bit of a taste.
Which hopefully isn't many people, but
yeah.
No.
What do you do? Do you do anything else for professionally outside of being in the band, or is it all music all the time?
No, I wish it was that easy, but no, I've been an interior decorator for the past 15, and so yeah, I've actually just started back at that in the past few months. Like jobs have slowly started to trickle in, and thankfully it's a lot of corporate stuff in model apartments and office buildings and stuff. So I'm not really surrounded by a bunch of people want to do it or have to go in anybody's house. So, but it pays the bills better than music.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we got to connect you with Santos from Old Man Gloom. Yeah. Old Man Gloom. Do you know Santos at all?
No, I don't.
Okay, so Santos lives a very nice life in New York City and had a really sweet apartment. The man dresses sets for a living. So he's the film and television interior decorator, and he had crazy stories about, you know, people basically redoing their entire apartment so that they could photo shoot themselves in their favorite room that only existed.
All the celebrities with horrible interior design style that they would come and pretend that they had good style.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that sounds a lot more interesting than my job.
Yeah. So if you want to leave, we'll connect you if you want to leave Dallas and live in the Big Apple. No, I don't know.
And what is the going design aesthetic down there right now?
Oh, well, Texas is no example to lead by for sure. But it's since what I do is so corporate and just like, I bland. I would say that's the flavor of all seasons in my job.
It's bland.
Very mundane. Yeah, mayonnaise. I don't know.
Mayonnaise.
I've noticed that and I don't know interior design, but I've noticed that one term that a lot of people confuse is modern and contemporary. And
right.
Everybody calls contemporary modern. And you're like, that is not modern.
No.
There's a big difference there, but yeah. No, and a lot of what I do is like very it's, I smoke a joint and pull out a tape measure and a drill gun and I'm basically a glorified handyman. It's like
hanging pictures.
Nice.
And pictures, hanging curtains. It's so cut and dry to me, and I've been doing it for so long that it's like,
I can imagine. So I worked for a really small company for a long time, most of my professional career. So I've been through the thing where like we get the new office and then everybody pitches in to like pick the carpet and pick the furniture, the fabric for the shitty office couch, and then all the wall art. And it was so funny because when we closed the company, that last office down, there was just like stacks of that wall art, and it was like, anybody want it? No, nobody wanted any of it. It was just like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
Right. No, I've taken some good stuff that I've replaced. Like for a while there, I was really into those motivational posters that people would have in their office.
Hang in there.
I'd take those and put those up in our practice room just because I thought it was terrible. Like opportunity or some bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's a quote, stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of bad office art floating around out there.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, at least it's so funny doing this now. I mean, obviously we've been in bands and promoting, and so we're in contact with a lot of musicians. but not having the kind of depth of conversations that we've been having since we started this. And it's so fascinating to hear what it is that people do and what they're into outside of the music. And it's all over the place, man. It is definitely like we've heard just about everything.
Oh yeah, completely.
That's
completely.
Cool. No, I've been watching a couple of y'all's podcasts on YouTube the past couple of days just to kind of see what it was all about. And no, it's very cool. I really dig it.
Nice. Thank you. That's awesome.
I'm a big fan of React stuff where people are reacting to things that they have no idea about. So no, I like that. And for me, this is perfect because I personally don't listen to a lot of heavier stuff like in my own time. So it's cool to have somebody like introduce me to maybe something I like.
Nice. Well, yeah, and we're not getting exclusively heavy submissions. I would say it leans that way a bit, but it's not exclusive. And the more non-heavy, the better. Honestly, I some of the stuff that our heads have been blown up the most by has been some of the Bandcamp stuff where it was world music or crazy stuff going on in jazz or people smashing up genres.
Yeah.
I just saw a post. One of the first episodes we did, we tripped over this band from LA called Karima. I think they were all from San Antonio originally, but it's like this crazy jazz prog outfit. And I guess they're just about to wrap up recording of their next record, which I was really excited about. Yeah, that was like the third episode. That was Andrew from Mountain Tamer. So that was like in the first couple episodes we found that. And then I've been following them since then. It's like, yes, excited to hear new music from them.
So what do you
what do you listen to?
When you sit down to listen to music, what do you listen to?
Lately, it's just been a bunch of Steely Dan.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of soft rock, honestly. A lot of like Dionne Warwick, a lot of just, I don't know. I have kind of just a random collection of stuff that is real nostalgic for me for some reason, but also like when I listen to it, I'm listening like I love Air Supply. Air Supply is that's one of the best concerts I've ever seen live. Like Air Supply and Cocky Twins is the two best live shows I've ever seen. No, but when I listen to Air Supply, it's like I hear it like it sounds, but when I'm thinking about using that in my own musical realm and trying to translate something that I actually like to something that people that listen to my music would like, I find that to be the ultimate like enjoyment and challenge in listening to a lot of music that has nothing to do with the music that I'm playing, because it's like, oh wow, I can really take these chord structures or just this overall feeling and throw a shit ton of distortion on it and slow it way the fuck down and see what the hell happens, producing something pretty unique. So
yeah, well, I mean, I just went back through and listened to the last record all the way through a couple times today, and we talked about it a little bit up front. I mean, there's moments where it's like, yeah, I'm listening to like normal music, rock music, with your twist on it. There's moments where it's like we've gone into like ambient territory. It sort of drifts in that direction, and then I said there's moments where I feel like if there was no Vangelis, you could have scored Blade Runner 2049 with a little, with a slight twist on the way that sounds. But I get all that album oriented rock because there's so many layers. And that's one thing that those guys were so good about, was just like the density of the recording, number of vocal tracks, number of instrumental tracks. Like there, the big budgets were out in 1976 to 1984, and they were paying for some serious studio work, and it shows in those recordings.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's funny because being a two-piece, it's difficult to create as much sound as we do, and it takes sometimes both of our feet and our elbows and all sorts of extra stuff going on there. But I was in like a 7-piece band back in the 90s and early 2000s, and tried to make that huge orchestral sound and tried to but man, that's difficult. I prefer to just more keyboards and more sustain pedals so I can hold out notes and fiddle around with something else and completely. Go that.
Yeah, so I think I read an interview that you did was, I don't know who it was, but they were saying, oh, it must be easier touring being a 2-piece. I'm like, not when you still have the equipment of a 4-piece and there's only 2 of you.
Yeah. Go ask Tristan from Author and Punisher how easy it is to tour as a solo act.
I don't know how that guy does that. I mean, I've seen it, and it's. I mean, what's up with break? It's where I mean, I guess he put it back together because he built it all himself in the first place. But I mean, that's like, that's I can't even imagine what a nightmare that would be to be his like stage production dude.
Yeah. So you are the melodic member of the band, not drummer, I'll say. So you're playing guitar, playing keyboards. You got foot pedals. Like what's the setup like?
We've never used any guitar.
No guitars.
It's all keyboards and it's all keyboards. But John, the drummer, John Teague, he actually uses about as many synthesizers as I do, but he just uses them in a different total way and runs a lot of loops and things like that.
Gotcha.
But no, I use a bunch of outdated equipment pretty much, and I some of it's reissues of old stuff, but it's Alicia's Nano Piano, a bass station, ARP Odyssey, and a string synthesizer, a strike set string synthesizer. And as far as pedals go, I use a Mel 9 that I run my strike set through, and I use a Rat distortion pedal on my piano.
Oh, wow.
And I mix the piano. I'm giving away my recipe.
Your secrets. You can keep it. You can keep it.
But no, there's not. I mean, most people that watch this probably play guitar, so I'm not too worried about it. But I use the piano and the bass sound together to give it a percussive sound, like an actual bass guitar, and run the piano through the distortion, so you don't lose the bottom end on the bass whenever the distortion kicks in, like what would happen with most bass guitars. But it gives it a real thick, heavy sound. And it's funny because I've had a lot of bass guitarists come up and be like, well, "What are you doing? How are you retaining your low end?" But
those guys are crazy, because the reason they ask you that is because you shouldn't run through a Rat. Like,
right.
Bass players need to find, especially for fuzz and distortion, you gotta find bass specific gear. Unless you're messing with your signal and like running stereo or clean. I don't buy a bass distortion pedal that even has a mix knob. I don't want a mix knob. Give me a clean audio volume, and give me a wet volume separately, so that I can completely control the wet and the dry sounds, because that's what happens. You lose the bass.
Yeah, but because I'm using it on a piano, it's more, the piano sounds almost more like a bass 6 rhythm guitar sound or something. It gives it it just sort of sounds just like power chords going behind the bass the whole time. But it took us a lot of trial and error and dialing things in and stuff before we finally got it, because we were a 3-piece with the bass player, and when he left, it made, there was a huge hole in our sound, because he was a monster of a bass player and had a sound like no other. I mean, closest I could say is like one of the basses from Magma or something.
Okay.
Really thick mid-range, just like sounds like you're choking a cow.
That's my sound, man. I love that mid, playing a jazz, playing a Rick, no P basses anywhere to be found.
Right.
I love that.
Awesome.
I was gonna say I'm trying to break into your territory. I bought a sub 25 just about a year ago, right before we went in Shelter in Place. That's the little 25, the bass player's Moog. It's a duophonic, really just one note at a time, and I use a lot of effects that sort of replicate a synth anyways, and then I got one of those little Keith McMillan 1 octave foot pedals, so now I can do bass and use the synth as kind of a sub fundamental or sub support when possible, because we had Billy Anderson on. And Billy recorded our last record, and one of his big studio tricks to augment the bass is to go in and drop any big drops, big open, whatever your lowest string is notes, he goes and records piano, like the lowest piano notes, the bass note, no effects or anything, and just puts it right underneath whatever bass that you've recorded, and it just reinforces with that really deep low piano string sound. And you don't know it's there, you just know that the note sounds really big.
Yeah, that's like a Brian Wilson studio trick. That's awesome. That's funny. I got the pleasure of recording with Billy Anderson when I did some vocals for Dead to a Dying World, and they brought him in to be the producer on it. And
shit.
No, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, Brett from Paul Bear also did some vocals at the same time, and I'm good friends with those Paul Bear dudes, and that was a lot of fun working with him. He Billy's a really cool guy. I've run into him on several different, just all over the place, really, working with several different bands he's toured with and stuff. So very cool dude.
Yeah, you run into Billy. Billy's like fucking Forrest Gump in heavy music. Like anytime a picture of Billy shows up wherever I go, like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure he was there.
That, yeah.
The infamous one is the New York hotel photo with Buzz and Dale and Kurt Cobain when they were playing, like the Melvins were playing some kind of label showcase at a hotel in New York City, like very, very early days. And there's just Billy standing back in the background. It's like, holy shit, he was there too.
Wow,
yeah,
that is Forrest Gump.
Where was that you guys recorded with him?
It's a studio out in Argyle, Texas here, called the Echo Lab.
Okay.
And where we recorded our last album we recorded at Cloudland Studios in Fort Worth with our friend Britt Robichaux. But all the other albums, including like Great Tyrant and pretty much everything I've worked on since I was about 20 has been recorded at Echo Lab Studios, just because it was owned by friends, and they've got a great analog and digital setup out there as well, and just such a, I've been going there since I was in my teens, so it's a very familiar, comfortable place.
When people who've never recorded before, this comes up a bit. There's a few ways to look at it. But for the most part, when we're going into the studio, there's nobody paying the bills, right? So,
right.
So the more comfortable you are, the quicker you get down to business. The more comfortable, like emotionally, but also just the more you know how the door works and where the mics are and where the cables are stored and all that shit. It actually makes a difference when you're trying to bust out a record in 3 days of tracking or whatever it is that you have.
Right.
But then I also think it'll be really fun to get put in a really uncomfortable position and go record somewhere that I've never been to before and with different people and just see how that affects me.
Yeah. I don't really think, I haven't really done that outside of recording at radio stations and stuff like that. But I've never gone to a studio and just been like, okay, I'm going to record an entire album in the studio I've never been into before. But except for this last Cloudland, but at the same time, we had recorded a couple of things, a couple of one-off things there before we had, before we did a full length there. So
where did you guys do that collab that you did with the Yells at Ills?
With the developers? That was actually at Cloudland, and it was funny. We recorded that out there. Britt also recorded that, and we had never mixed it. And then the pandemic hit, and Isla Records wanted to put it out, and it was like, well, it's not mixed at all. So I ended up getting the stems from Britt because this is right when everything started, and it was nobody's going into the studio to work together right now. So I ended up mixing the whole thing by myself at home in Ableton, which is oh wow is right. It's a jazz album with that many tracks. And I've never done anything like that before here. We recorded a couple of tracks for the last Pinkish Black album, the 2 digital extra tracks for the record. We recorded those here by ourselves. But no, I'd never mixed an entire album on my computer. So that was interesting. I'm just glad it came out listenable, and I was happy with it, and everybody in the band was happy with it. But I was just. Yeah, it was very flying by the seat of my pants with that one.
I thought it sounded great.
Do you have a lot of it experience engineering and doing that work in a normal studio setting, or just kind of passing what you get from being in a band for a long time?
No, I mean, I've done a lot of home recordings and stuff like that. There was a very short period of time where I did some music for Dragon Ball GT back in like the early 2000s, like 2002. But so that was, and that's when the first Ableton came out, and that's where I learned how to use Ableton. And then I recently scored a Nickelodeon documentary, did the soundtrack for that called The Orange Years.
Oh, nice.
And,
Nice.
So that I had done that a couple years right before mixing this Yells at Eels Pinkish Black album. And so I had a little bit of, like, I'd already like dipped my feet into the water. I knew what I was doing, but man, I mean, it was still just a huge learning process. And considering like I had no control over how the album was recorded, just how it was being mixed, it was like, yeah, I would have, would have been different under different circumstances, but it was a jazz album nonetheless. So it's like, that's also something I've never recorded, is a jazz album. So, you know, one thing where it's like, okay, make it loud as hell and scary, you know, but this, a jazz album is a completely different beast. So yeah, but I was just glad to be a part of it, in all honesty, you know.
Yeah, that's a really cool project for sure.
Yeah, because those guys, they're family to us. I mean, I know they're literal family to each other, but yeah, they're like family. I was gonna say,
they're all brothers, aren't they?
two brothers and one father. So,
gotcha. Nice.
Yeah, Denton, the trumpet player, he's the father, and he's world renowned. Yeah, he's been everywhere and played with everybody.
I gotta check this out.
Oh, it's incredible.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's so good.
I didn't listen to that. I need to listen to it.
Yeah.
Does it make you think about adding some equipment kind of to your home setup? I think most musicians have probably done that in the last year to some degree.
Yeah, I'm slowly working my way into that, because I think that we really want to get to the point to where we can record our own albums, and I can actually sit here and, you know, mix it myself and everything. But, you know, it'll probably end up being the kind of thing to where we record the drums in a studio, and then I come here to record all my keyboards, because it's just basically plugging it in, you know, direct and reamping it or whatever. But yeah, so I didn't much yet, but I actually just bought a guitar for the first time for no real good reason. Yeah, like, or not for the first time, but for the first time in a long time. But yeah.
You can show it off when we get to the merch table.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it, and it's coming. I ordered it off of eBay, but no.
So what'd you buy?
The Area Pro Urchin 2 model. It's red velvet. It was actually the first guitar I ever owned. My mom bought it for me when I was 12, and I have no idea what happened to it over the years, but I saw it on eBay, and I was like, I want that. But,
yeah.
Total. A nostalgia treat for myself, but at the same time, I really did like the action on it on the one that I had, so I'm kind of looking forward to having it and see if I can still do anything with the guitar.
You'll be able to. I've flirted with buying one of those Aria Pro. I forget the full name. It's the Z bass. There's like, it's half black and half white. The dude who plays bass for Mutoid Man always plays one. It's like, you know, crazy pointy Z shaped bass.
Right.
I couldn't get over those, you know, it's a bass that's built for guitar players, like super narrow neck, really low action. It's like super fast playing, but doesn't fit me at all. And I'm always tempted to buy that stuff, and then I just have to stop and go, every time you do it, you don't ever play them. Just like skip the part where you have to then sell it in 2 years or 6 months or whatever it is, and just don't buy it in the first place, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know how, how did you get to, I mean, I know sort of the history of Pinkish Black, right? You know, you guys used to be a 3-piece, you know, Great Tyrants, but how, like, growing up, what were your influences? How did you get to making the music that you make now?
Well, horror movies, essentially. Goblin, like, you know, I'm a huge Goblin fan, and you know, was a huge Goblin fan before I was even aware that they were a band, because I, you know, had the VHS. I got the VHS of Dawn of the Dead probably when I was like 9, and just thought that music on there was just the coolest stuff I'd ever heard. But
technical difficulties.
Sorry.
But outside of that, I'd say my first, like, I mean, because I grew up kind of a goth kid, pretty much, and so yeah.
Had a feeling. No.
Yeah. Yep.
Prior to that, though, like, it was real. Fleetwood Mac was the band that got me into playing music, though, because when I heard The Chain on the radio for the first time, that was like, I get, it's like a 7-minute song. It's all minor chords for the most part, and like really kind of witchy. All Fleetwood Mac stuff at that period would have this witchiness to it, or some of it did anyway. And so I got way into Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks, and I ended up buying a guitar, like an acoustic guitar, and teaching myself how to play The Chain and a bunch of other Fleetwood Macs out of a tablature book I got at the mall at Camelot Music. And
Camelot.
but yeah, then shortly after that, friends, like I was 11 when I got turned on to the Misfits and CSOL and Black Flag and Minor Threat and Fugazi, and so it was just it. But I tended to like the the darker stuff, and then when I heard like Christian Death and Bauhaus, it was just okay. Yeah, this is the kind of music I really like, and so started a ton of goth bands in junior high, and it just they were all. But it was like that was like 90, 91. So my influences were still, because I was really into the Pixies.
Oh, we just lost your volume. Hold on one sec. Can you hear us? What happened? I don't know what happened.
I don't think you can hear us.
Yeah, something happened with the audio. Hold on one second here. We're gonna see if we can figure out why we cannot hear him in Zoom. Is his thing moving? Does it look like he's talking?
Hello?
Yes.
There you go.
I lost my headphones for some reason. Hang on a sec.
Well, it sounds better now.
Yeah.
It does.
But
it does. Yeah.
Probably can't hear us though.
I can hear y'all.
Oh,
good.
Can
You?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds fantastic.
You do sound great. How weird. Sorry, we missed kind of like that whole last part. I think we ended at discovering Bauhaus and
middle
goth
school.
and in middle school.
Okay. That's cool. It was I was saying like, I got into like Bauhaus and Christian Death and all that, but then I was into like Jane's Addiction and stuff back then too. So I was doing a bunch of stuff that was like, I mean, it was terrible. It was like goth funk, and which
you and I gotta talk.
That sounds amazing.
Oh man,
it's not.
No, it's not.
No, I mean, so I'm a couple years older than you. So at that time, 91's my senior year of high school, and I'm in a band whose biggest influences are Jane's Addiction, Primus, a bunch of punk and hardcore bands, and a bunch of goth bands. Like that's what we all loved. And our singer in my band, Troy, fronted a really popular goth band out here in the Bay Area called Kill Sister Kill for about 15 years too. So
oh wow,
got deep goth roots in the Bay Area.
Deep goth roots.
But no, the first real band that I really was in was a band called Thorazine Dreams, and we were straight up Butthole Surfers style, drug taking, just it was mostly improvised, but we had songs, but half the time we'd be too fucked up to actually play them, so we'd just freak out.
So I gotta say, how does that go over in Texas in the early 90s? Like
in the early 90s, surprisingly well.
Really?
There was a scene here in Denton, Texas, which is just 30 minutes north of here, and that's where I was living at the time. And we called it the space rock scene. And pretty much, if you were on drugs and made a lot of weird shit, then you were openly accepted into that scene. And that's where I mean, roundabout way, that's really the origins of Pinkish Black. Is that I met John via him coming up there to see all the weird crap that was going on. And a lot of the bands that were going up there were from Fort Worth, some from Dallas, some from Austin and stuff. But no, at that time it was a very very fruitful time for weird music in Texas at that time. Me and a friend of mine are actually we were in the processes of starting to work on a documentary about that time. There was a club there called the Argo that was like just legendary. It had some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen happen there, and like huge bands that would be huge now, like Tortoise or Silver Apples, you know, that are considered legendary now, would just come through and play to 12 people, you know. And
that's crazy.
It was crazy. Oh, go ahead.
You would have been super at home in San Francisco in like 88 to 94 or so when Billy was there and the Melvins and Grotus and all this crazy improvisational noise-makey drug-fueled nonsense fueled by the lack of any kind of oversight and control over flats in the city. So people just had these artist flats, and so it was like, is this your house? Is this a club? Like, is this an opium den? Is it a studio? I don't care because it's awesome here. Whatever's going on, that was all like percolating in the Bay in the early 90s too. It would have been interesting if you could have like connected the two scenes up and shared people. Yeah.
Little too far for us to drive.
Little too far. So you weren't hopping in your car to blast over to San Francisco to see a show on the weekend.
No. The first time I ever went anywhere for touring, it's funny. I didn't tour. I just moved the entire band to Los Angeles. I was in a band called the Pointy Shoe Factory in the late 90s, early 2000s, and in early 2001 we all moved to Los Angeles and had a decent time. I mean, we were squatting because the bank repossessed our landlord's house like 2 weeks after we got there or something. So we paid the first month's rent and deposit, and then the landlord lost the house, and we were just like, well, we're not gonna pay you anymore. So yeah, we just did squatting. And I mean, it's good that we did. I was making like $7 an hour working at a goth shop on Melrose called Shrine.
Jesus, I've been there.
Yeah. You have?
Yeah, I spent a couple of years in the early 90s, my first year of college, and then some additional time living in LA. And
that's cool. What part did you live in?
I lived in Eagle Rock.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I lived in Echo Park.
Yeah. So I mean, it's changed so much, but man, it was LA's crazy. I mean, I see why people went there and continue to go there for music or entertainment or whatever it is. But man, does it take a while to like find your people and your bearings and your scene? At first, it just seems like everything is so far away, and like there's no way you're ever gonna find like the your people.
Right. Yeah, there's so many different things going on. You know, it's like, which do you pick? You know, but no, it was. Yeah. When 9/11 happened, I was like, I'm going home. Like,
really?
We're all gonna die. You know, that was like one of the first times in my life I could say I was like, oh, we're about to be a world war going on. I want to go back to Texas. And but no, I didn't have a very musically, I didn't have a very good time out there. There was just like we got hooked up with the goth scene out there, and I mean the goth scenes anywhere really just kind of don't, it's like, I feel like even back then when I was like, 27 or whatever, I felt too old for it. Or I was 25 back then. I felt like, I don't feel like I need to be dancing around to Sisters of Mercy forever,
forever.
Like it was fun when I was young, but it's like there's other music out there, but yeah, so and the bands that we had hooked up with out there, it was just, we had fun with them, but I felt like we didn't fit in, so
yeah,
it
can be, it can just be impenetrable because people are so like dug in there, and there are so many great musicians that are not household names that are just floating around the city at all times, making you feel terrible about yourself. Like, for example, when Frusciante left the Chili Peppers the first time, and I think Dave Navarro ended up being the guitarist, but for a little while there was this guy named Arik Marshall. I think that was his name. if you were in LA at the time, Eric Marshall was the greatest guitar player on the face of the earth, and like had his pick of whatever gig he wanted. And it was almost like if you were a guitar player, you just like, well, fuck it, whatever job opens up, he's gonna take it. So I might as well go to a city where there aren't a dozen guys like him waiting to step into every job. I mean, I told this story before. I blew off a final to audition for Porno for Pyros to play bass for Porno for Pyros. It's like, of course I'm not going to get that fucking gig. It was, it was already handed to Martin Lenoble, who was playing bass in Thelonious Monster, because of course it is, because he's like a 7-foot tall Swedish dude. It's like who everybody knows and likes, and it's like, fuck, man. Well, this is kind of dumb. Like, how am I ever going to get anywhere? This is not a place for me musically. Whereas like the Bay Area was a lot more open. It was a lot. I mean, there are scenesters everywhere, and it kind of depends on what you were into, but I sort of felt like everybody it was less protective and a little more welcoming up here to just anyone who wanted to play music. Right.
Now, Texas has this, I think the thing that's always drawn me to it is just, you're just kind of left to your own devices here. Nobody's paying attention. Nobody's writing about it. Nobody's, especially back in the, in the 90s and early 2000s, it's just, there was just stuff would go on here that no one knew about. And you were left to your, it was just like, it felt like you had the ability to be more creative when no one is doing it to get an article or to get, notoriety. It's like, you're doing it because you want to do it and love to do it, or you're not going to do it because you're not doing it for accolades or money, so.
Yeah, unless you're Pantera, they're not going to write about you. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you has it been interesting to see sort of where like Pinkish Black has been sort of welcomed? Yeah, because I feel like you've really been welcomed into like this heavy underground of like doom and sort of like heavy metal, where your music would normally kind of be there, but everybody really loves you within this scene. Like, has
not
that been
everybody,
surprising?
Man.
Yeah, no.
I mean, but no, the amount of praise we've gotten, or just fans and people that actually like it, is real surprising. Because I mean, John and I have been doing music in a similar vein for 20 years, and to no avail, at least outside of just to entertaining ourselves, and it was really only after Rich from Handmade Birds, like, I don't know what he did putting out our first record. He just put it in the right people's hands to where the right type of people got to hear it, and that made huge difference, and I've had heroes of ours tell us, like, that they really love our music, and that blows our minds, and it's it's weird, and so I'm nothing but appreciative, I can tell you that.
Well, here's what I think. Here's what I would say it is. There is an undercurrent in most metal that I listen to, at least. Yeah, is this like deep love for certain parts of pop culture, in particular horror, science fiction, and fantasy. And if you can hear that in the music, then it doesn't matter that there's no guitars in there. Like, I totally get it. And it's the same reason why you can get the John Carpenter records from Sacred Bones, but you can also get like Thou, or it's like,
right.
Like, for some reason it all fits together.
Fits.
Well, and like the Nights at Psycho, where Ghost, G-O-S-T, not G-H-O-S-T, or
right.
What's the other one with the guitar player? Sword.
It's something Sword.
It's like electronic, electronic music, and then this like shreddy guitar player wailing solos over with like a weird, we're just like weird shit, man. We're all down if somebody seems like they're into the same stuff that we're into.
Completely.
So that's how I think it goes.
And a lot of it comes down to like you said, like horror movies, and just, but like I was talking to Jason from Sleep when we played with them one, and he was talking to just about, how, I don't know, how it seemed like a good bill us playing together. And I was like, well, yeah, man, stone people like listening to our music just as much as yours. So
there you go.
That's the common thread, is there, we're no strangers to, LSD and stuff like that. So you can hear that in a lot of, you know, more extreme types of music. But
that's funny.
That's
I don't really think of it this way, but imagine being at Psycho all day, or an all day for whatever, pick your festival all day.
Yeah.
But mostly like stoner, doom, even some black metal, and then some of the other stuff that orbits around at a festival like that, being fucking gacked out on cocaine all day. Like, I don't even know if I could sit through a set.
Way.
Can you imagine trying to watch sleep?
No way.
Just be like, get to it, man.
Do it. Yeah.
I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure that there's been that guy there that's like, why did I do this? You know, but
exactly. No, I need a downer. Yeah. How did the tour with Torch go?
Oh man, we love Torch. Yeah. I mean, all those guys, those guys are all great. Steve's super sweet. And their audience they dig us enough, you know, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's all, you know, solid, heavy songs, you know, and I mean, we're not just out there making a like bleak ass noise. We're actually going out and playing like songs and stuff. But
I think there's a lot of lines to draw between you guys and Torch. And Torch to me is just like a heavy, dark new wave band.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So I mean, and it would be equally at home if all of that was played on synth rather than guitars. Like, I could totally hear the last Torch record as all keyboards.
I could, totally. I can totally hear what you're saying. And no, I mean, it's like a Cars record or something, you know, where it's like, it could be all these synths or guitar. But no, they're great, man. I really dig what they're doing. And it's like, it kind of takes me back to like, you know, I was real into like shoegazy kind of stuff before it was even called that back in the 90s, when it was just like, you know, I got introduced to all that via Cocteau Twins. It was like I got way into them around the time Bluebell Knoll came out, and they're still one of my favorite bands of all time. And you know, everybody's like, oh, it sounds like keyboards, but that's all guitar on their records. And that's I think the reason I stopped playing guitar is like, I might as well just play keyboards, because I'm trying to make all my guitar stuff sound like keyboards.
Anyways.
Yeah, but I still feel like I play keyboards like a guitar player, though. Very much like my left hand is a bass guitar neck, and my right hand is just power chords, just hitting the. So I'm basically like a bass player and a rhythm guitar, and then I'll do some lead guitar in there every once in a while. But yeah.
So that means you have to switch from keyboards to like a sweet ass double neck. And then you can do like the Stanley Jordan over under, you know, you can play the bass lines, and then you can do those chords from the top. That'd be rad.
That would be a feat. Yeah.
Like, so much harder than just playing it on a goddamn keyboard.
Right. No. Yeah. My goal at some point that we've talked about is, because a lot of what I'm hearing when I write this stuff, you know, it's not guitars at all. It's like violins and horns sections, and it's more composed in my head like a Burt Bacharach record or a Motown record or something. But it comes out not, you know, I don't have access to any of that. So, but at some point we would love to do like a one-off show or a tour of like where I'm actually playing all the lines on bass guitar, and I have like 3-piece string section, 3-piece horn section doing all the other synthesizer parts.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be great.
No, I'd love to see what that would sound like, because, you know, like I said, Magma's like one of my favorite bands, and that's totally like kind of their setup. But no, it'd be just incredible. But you know, I don't have money for that.
I know. Something else has to blow up before you can start to do that kind of crazy shit. That's the other thing is, like, you know, for us, talking to people who from the outside, the listeners would consider them like wildly successful in music. But from the inside, they're still not even at the point where they could do a project like that, you know, where they have like the clout and the money to say, you know what, I'm going to take my 2-piece and turn it into a, you know, 7-piece ensemble. and it's crazy. There's crazy misconceptions, I think, about how artists make money, especially, you know, in this kind of underground that we live in.
Right. And I mean, especially the past year, you know, but no, it's yeah, we do okay on we tours are self-sustainable, you know, so if we go on tour, we typically don't end up spending a lot of our money outside. Well, the Torch tour, we had a weird coupling thing with the drive shaft explode on us in Mexico on our way to Arizona. And I ended up sinking about $2,000 of my own money into that. But at the same time, we didn't miss a date on the tour, so we ended up working it out. But a lot of weird finagling because none of us have a credit card. So renting a tour van or a van without a credit card, that was a challenge. We have a buddy that goes with us on tour named Clay, and he figured that out for us. So props to Clay.
Oh, that's good.
Good job, Clay.
Yeah, that would be hard to pull off.
That'd be really hard to pull off.
It was very hard to pull off, but we did it.
You got to front a bunch of money, or sometimes they won't even rent you anything unless you have something besides a debit card.
Yeah, and I mean, we had debit cards, but no, I think we had to put down like an $800 deposit. But that's still preposterous to me, thinking that, I could have just driven off with their van for $800
with a $40,000 van for $800.
Yeah, but no, it's so no, we don't, and as far as record sales go, I don't think we've ever made any money off of any of the last 3 records. The first record since we had to deal with the label where we owned the digital rights for that. We made a little money off of that, but that's not, we were surprised to make 10 cents. I mean, because we've been putting out records, selling them to our friends for the past 20 years. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. Somebody else wants to buy them besides our friends. That's cool.
I know. Yeah. That's always like this shocking and exciting. Well, I even had that, moment for the first time about this podcast, which we've only been working on for 6 months, which is like random person bringing it up in a random conversation that had nothing to do with me or anything about me on social media. Someone's like, hey, I've been listening to this thing. And I was like, that's me. Hey, that's me. I do that. And then it's like, where'd you find it? Like, what did you, what's your favorite episode? What are you listening to? So it's always cool to hear that somebody's consuming your shit. I love to, with the podcast platform, you get these analytics and you can look at where in the world people are listening from. And it's like, I want to know there's, it's still mostly North America and Europe, but the person in Malaysia, like, how did they find it? Why do they listen to it? Like, I want to ask them all questions, but don't really get to
right.
Then you're a creepy stalker if you do that. So
no, when we went overseas with Alaric and Pallbearer a few years ago, I was really, really blown away at how many people overseas had heard of us. And it was, and I mean, I would say we have a stronger following over there than we do in the US. So
JD's making a face. Do you hear something weird?
Do you not hear that?
I'm hearing like kids music.
Like music box or something.
Yeah.
It sounds like a music box.
It's not in here. It's out there somewhere.
I don't have a music box in here. That'd be creepy.
It's not you.
Weird.
That would be,
speaking of horror movies.
No, I mean you can see why a guy like he came up last week, Nick DeSalvo from Elder, gets a couple European tours under his belt, and he's like, all right, I don't need to be in America anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and just move to Germany because music's way better here than it is there. And they'll come back here and play occasionally, but they play constantly in Europe. So,
right. No, that's just it's pretty awesome over there, and just the level of hospitality that they give to bands is just through the roof in some places. And like nothing, you don't see anything like that in America.
No, very rarely do you get any kind of that real European style hospitality and crowd enthusiasm. Like, I know there's a lot less of this, in the front row of the show when you see crowds in Europe than there is when you show up to a local venue anywhere in the United States where the like scenester dude's like, all right, impress me.
Right.
Oh, the venues are actually happy to have you in Europe rather than the venue owners here that are like, you're lucky you get to play.
Yeah, right.
Don't even try to touch my bar sales.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, it's in Germany though, they're really appreciate, but then they'll come up and tell you like, I liked your last album better than your new one.
Oh yeah.
But I'll take 2 copies anyway.
You're like the 5th person who said specifically in Germany, like, hey, you fucked up, you messed up that one song and it didn't really sound very good. I'll take 3 T-shirts and 2 records.
Very honest.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like, you are much better live than you are on record.
Yeah.
I'll take a record. You know,
I'll take a record.
okay.
Whatever, buddy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, well, I think we've hit.
Should we get into some music?
Listen to music time.
Oh, let's do it.
Sure.
All right.
Trying
So
to figure out where this music box music is coming from.
I'm sure. I mean, we're in your office. I'm sure it's on the TV outside.
Are you
here.
haunted?
I must be.
JD has a haunted head. Dun dun. It's out there.
It's out there. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is.
I
Did
don't
my
know.
family leave? Huh.
I don't know what your family did. All right, man. All right. So who are we going to listen to first? I combed through. Hey, we need more submissions. Not that we don't have any, but send music if you're listening. Tell your friends to send music. We're now that I guess we're officially, JD and I were talking about this. Are we pressed now? Seems like we're pressed. We're getting tons of PR submissions.
Get lots of PR submissions.
But I love getting submissions directly from the band. So I have to remember from time to time to remind people to please submit music. I mean, behind the scenes, the reason we connected is because you submitted music for us to listen to. And I was like, sorry, can't do that.
We can't listen to you blindly because we already like you.
We know
Which
who
We
you are.
already know your catalog.
That, like you were saying, like when people are like, "Oh, well, yeah," talking about your podcast, that blew me away the same way. It was like, "Oh, these guys have actually heard our band." It's like, okay, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, between playing and touring and us booking shows around here, being part of a small record label, I feel like there aren't very many, certainly at your level bands that I don't know or haven't heard. I'm surprised occasionally Moontooth kicked our asses when we hadn't heard them yet. That band's fucking incredible.
But it's funny to me because I don't even consider us on like any level.
At a level.
Yeah, I'm like, I guess it's just because I'm so just like, especially the last year has just been like,
what?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on anymore, but
You're
no,
humble.
I mean, I appreciate you putting us on a level.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was so, because I think you played a show in San Francisco in 2019, actually probably part of the Torch Tour. And I was mad that I had to miss that show. I was so mad.
Yeah,
because everybody was posting about it on Facebook. And I'm just like,
I wanted to say about that tour as well. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Sears Q, who opened on that tour.
No,
she's also from Texas. She's amazing. Like they brought her with us, and I was stoked because she's a friend of ours. And
how do you spell that?
Yeah. SRSQ.
Oh, SRSQ. I have seen that.
Yeah. No, she's really good.
SRSQ.
If you like Cocteau Twins at all, you'd probably really dig that.
oh yeah.
All right.
Like
Yeah,
a vaporwave version of Cocteau Twins, kind of.
Oh,
nice.
I was going to ask you, since you love the album-oriented rock, we had a Max from, if you haven't listened to it yet, since you have a deep love of goth, you make sure you go and listen to that Cavern Deep record. That was
Okay.
Max was the not the last guest, but the one before that.
From Sweden.
This crazy Swedish like goth, heavy, weird band. I don't even know exactly how to
It was hard to describe.
it,
which is good. That's
but
what I like.
like a baritone and a bass vocal, and then just really sparse arrangements and really cool sounds. It's really cool stuff. But
Awesome.
also in Sweden, you have this reemergence of these like 70s proto album oriented rock bands like not Cadaver, the Star Riders band, who I couldn't remember when we were on the phone with Max either, and then he pronounced it in Swedish and it sounded so cool. But there's a ton of bands like that coming out of Sweden. Do you listen to any of the new stuff, or is it really the nostalgia of the bands that sounded like that in the beginning that you like?
Hallas.
Halas. Yes.
Hallas.
Have you ever listened to those guys?
No, I haven't. But see, and it's like, because it's weird because I don't even really know what's considered goth anymore. I listen to several newer bands that have like that kind of an influence, like Urfaust. I think just to me sounds like brutal Joy Division or something, but they're not considered a goth band. But to me, I mean, that sounds goth as hell, you know.
These guys are like playing that late 70s, early 80s album rock, that like soft, listen to it on your yacht. Like it would fit in really nicely with like what you're currently listening to.
Right.
Well, Yeah, and the thing that also got to me, and I don't know, I'm sure you've seen this, Daron, but the lines between what used to be considered goth and what used to be considered emo got blurred somewhere in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and then all of a sudden like AFI was a goth band.
Yeah, this is something.
And when
No.
like, what?
Yeah.
No. I managed a Hot Topic. And, yeah.
Oh, you saw it happen then.
I did. No, I can pinpoint the moment. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God, our kids are going to be so excited to hear that we interviewed someone not in a band, not famous, but who managed a Hot Topic.
Yeah.
I managed two separate ones at 2 different times. So.
Oh shit, we have some 11 to 13-year-old Hot Topic lunatics between our two houses.
It's such a, I mean, when it started, it was a bit of a different store than what it is now. I don't know, but I'll tell you, like, I was working there during Columbine, and in Texas, we had moms out there protesting the Hot Topic because we had
trench coats.
And I was like, go down to Burlington Coat Factory and protest them. They got way more than we do.
They got way more.
Go to the men's warehouse.
No, it was that was a terrible time for music, and I mean, none of the. I mean, you know, I was already in my early 20s by the time that happened, so I wasn't, you know, not a Manson fan, not an any new metal like Korn and stuff.
Korn.
That all just went right over my head, and
Korn comes up once per episode. At least.
Well, you know,
it's impossible not to.
Well, it's kind of a joke.
Well, now it does for sure, but it was organic at first.
But yeah, no, I completely hear it, and it just kills me when people refer to, you know, well, what is goth as emo and what is emo as goth, and I'm just like, oh God, this is so hard for me to bite my tongue.
Yeah. All right, so
usually don't.
Just
I think it really just. It comes down to age, and I think a lot of it, and what you had already ordained as goth before you got into all of that at the same time, you know. And I don't know, there's so many subgenres of everything now that, you know, it took me forever to understand what emo even was, but then once I figured it out, it was okay, that. And it really hit home for me when a friend of mine told me she had her TV on mute and was watching MTV back when they used to show videos, and My Chemical Romance came on. And she was like, "Oh, that looks like Pointy Shoe Factory, my old band." And I was like, but then she unmuted it to see what it sounded like, and it was all like, you know,
it was Blink-182
poppy music. And no, I thought that was hilarious because I had that the bangs and spiky, you know, basically the Karen cut back in the 90s. So the goth Karen cut.
Yep.
Oh, my brother-in-law Pete his head was shaved. It was all dyed black, and then he had the one long piece of hair, the little triangle,
the double lock
that came down in front, like over one eye and down past his chin, and it was always like glued in place. Oh man,
lovely!
What a life. You know, it's funny too. My brain's going in so many directions. I must have taken my alpha brain today.
You are extra talkative tonight.
We've been listening to all these different reactor people on YouTube, and one of them I found is this lady who's like a music theory explainer who's only doing videos about 9 Inch Nails. And so I watched her breakdown of the March of the Pigs. And she gets to the end and she goes, "Now, you want me to blow your mind? Every single chord in this song is a major chord." She said, go back and listen to it. There's one note he sings on top of another note that creates a minor chord, but other than that, the entire song is all major. And it's like this perception of, you know, what My Chemical Romance looked like versus what they sounded like. You know, is like that major minor divide. But it's so crazy how you can, you know, break those rules and create new stuff. Are you a theory guy? Are you like an educated, like professionally educated musician? Yeah.
No, I'm actually I the highest grade I completed was 9th, and But I did go to college for 2 years after that and did take some theory classes, but I got my GED because I did not want to didn't want Columbine to happen any earlier than it did. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not a gun owner.
You were a disgruntled youth.
Yeah.
I was, I didn't see the point of it, and I was pretty right. But don't tell I won't share that information with your children.
Well, no, I mean, hey, I'm constantly looking even at my own kids to see like not the path, the expected path in this country isn't necessarily going to be right for all of them.
No.
I'm clear on that. I'm happy for kids to go to college if that's what they want, or to stay in high school if that's what works. But
and that's where the problems come from, is when it's like, nope, there's one way to do this, and that's the right way, and you have to do it.
Oh yeah, and in Texas in the 90s, it was, and if you were weird at all, it was a terrible place to be. Yeah.
I believe it.
I can imagine.
All right, so since I brought it up, we're going to listen to bands. We're going to listen to you, but I have to put this earworm in your ear since you've been listening to Steely Dan and Air Supply and shit. So
Get ready for this one.
This is a currently very popular band called Halas from Sweden, and this is a song from like 2 years ago.
Nice. Yeah, I can totally get down with this.
Yep. Just got to get to the first Star Rider. It's coming.
It's coming.
Nice.
Anyways.
Very
Star
nice.
Rider.
I dig it.
Halas.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's just funny that it exists, and that like
It is funny that it exists.
kids will listen to that, and then you go, "Hey, if you like that, I'm gonna aim you back about 40 years.
Back about 40 years.
I'm gonna blow your fucking mind." All right. Okay, so the first song that we're going to listen to that is not Halas, and that's going to get us copyright claimed, and now I'm going to have to cut it out of the video, but whatever. The shit I do. All right, so
you need to share the screen.
No, we'll get there. So the first,
okay.
the first band is called Mask of Sanity.
Ooh, Mask of Sanity.
Yeah.
Sounds scary.
Yeah. I hope it is. I'll be sorely disappointed
Looks
if it's
scary.
not. If you're gonna, all right, so I'm going to share my screen. I know you're on your phone, but you'll still be able to hopefully see a little bit.
Okay.
I'll try and zoom in so that you can get a look at least. So here's their album cover. Mask of Sanity.
Mouse, you know.
Yeah.
World Full of Sin. So it's
Wow.
it's like a person barfing up blood on an apple. I don't know. That looks like 3 Donald Trump faces, if I'm being honest. Oh my God! How long has it been since you saw an album cover with the
parental advisory on it?
Parental advisory logo on it.
Wow, I haven't thought about that.
Do you still have to do that?
No, I don't think so.
Interesting. Is it a really old album?
No. Huh. No, this is not old. And the song that they want us to listen to is called Sterilize.
Ooh,
all right, straight to the point. And it's 8 minutes. We're not going to listen to all of it.
We're not going to listen to all of it.
So what do you think? A 1 minute intro and then a shift into whatever the next part is?
Of course.
A minute and 4 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it.
Okay.
Could be longer. It's 8 minutes, but we'll see. All right. Mask of Sanity.
You nailed it. That was like 104.
I need to go back and see, but I think it was.
Yeah. That was that is like some straight up like speed metal. I mean,
yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
It's thrash.
Some thrash, some speed metal. What's the difference between thrash and speed metal?
It's a good question. You have to talk to somebody smarter than me.
What do you think, Daron? What's your first impression?
You know, not being super familiar with a lot of music that sounds like that, it's I found the intro very, you know, sort of early Metallica, I guess, or later Metallica, I guess, actually. And the drums were very, I don't know, the snare was like, sounded like a phone book.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, it was loud thrash.
Yeah. So
the guitar tones, like, it was like, it sounded like it was an older recording with the way the guitar sounded at the beginning, or not at the beginning, but like once it actually kicked in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, if they're going for like that late 80s, early 90s, like speed thrash metal, then they fucking nailed it.
Right, yeah.
I, as a little skater kid growing up in the late 80s, I would have loved this. Like, this would have been my jam. I would have heard that, and I'd been like, yes, I'm hooked.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little hard to talk about production because it's running through Zoom and we're not all hearing it exactly the right way. But I will tell you, I read their little paragraphs about the recording and how it was it was over 3 years and at 3 different studios, and they crashed at people's houses. There was kind of a whole story to go with it. You know, I think this is the first recording on here is from like 2015, a demo from 15. I'm guessing, I don't think they have a band photo. Maybe they do. And I'm guessing they're young people. So like not making thrash the way I would make thrash, having lived through it once and then kind of gone back to refine it, but actually just creating it from scratch from, you know, whatever influences they have now. I think this is a band that has chops and and they'll get better at recording shit. The drums were not pleasing to me.
I would imagine that this is probably what Power Trips sound like on their first demo. Like, honestly, it probably is. they probably didn't sound, you know.
No.
I mean,
we just get to listen to it all because you can put it on Bandcamp for
we just
nothing.
get to listen to it all.
Right.
What I'm really curious about is like a song like this is not usually 8 minutes long.
I know.
So,
it's going to go places.
I'm curious as to where this is going to go.
All right. So the first thing I had to do was take a victory lap and rewind it back to 1 minute and 3 seconds to see how close I was.
How close were you?
Yeah.
Okay. How close were you?
All right. I mean,
perfect.
Exactly. All right. It's like I've done this before.
So let's scoot this forward a little bit. Let's go to the middle and see where we're going.
Yeah, let's go like about a third. We're going to get some...
Breakdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, keep at it.
Yeah.
I feel like this.
They're definitely good at what they're doing. That was a very unexpected vocal change.
It
was, wasn't it?
Somebody's like,
I feel like they're all taking turns.
Maybe so. It almost was like a System of a Downish type of moment, like where it got all. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes,
like
I heard that too. There was like a middle. It was almost like a Middle Eastern sort of.
Yeah.
They're
singing parallel fifths in that kind of that melodic pattern that's Mediterranean or Middle Eastern or whatever. I mean, it was interesting. And then he's got another voice. If that wasn't the singer, if it was somebody else digging into his more extreme kind of screamy range.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys have been doing this for 3 years, like keep at it. Cause
no, it's 6 years. 6 years.
Keep at it.
Yeah. No. Indy's probably a great place to have a band like this too. In Indianapolis. Wasn't Homewrecker from Indianapolis?
Were they?
Yeah, those guys.
Or were they Denver?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Maybe they're Indy.
For whatever reason, the Midwest feels very thrash right now.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it was very coastal the first time around, and now it's like, nah, we're gonna do it in the middle of the country now.
Wasn't
interesting.
Oh no, they're Iowa.
All right. So that was number 1. We like?
I mean, like I said,
yeah.
That would have been they probably would have been my favorite local band when I was a little skate kid. Like I was a little Hesher skate kid.
All right, this second one confused and excited me, and this was a submission from the band themselves, not from their label or PR.
Homewreckers from Ohio.
I mean, I'm in California. Do I honestly know the difference between Ohio and Indiana, if I'm being completely honest?
Ohio, Indiana, Iowa.
Indiana's like that little skinny one, right? It's like kind of that shape. And then Ohio's more kind of like a football.
Yeah.
I don't
know. Ohio's next to one of the lakes, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah.
I've driven through all of them, and I couldn't tell you.
Same. That's you live in another one of the gigantic states. I'm always shocked. I had grandparents who lived in Houston, and then my dad lived in New Braunfels, or not New Braunfels, in Pflugerville, outside of Austin for a while. And
it will.
So I have driven in my lifetime back and forth to Texas a bunch of times, but it'd been a while. The last time we toured through Texas, coming back from South by Southwest, I forget how fucking giant that state is from east to west, man.
It'll take you all day. That's for sure.
It goes and goes. It's like 9 or 9.5 hours from Austin to El Paso, I think, something like that. I mean, that's
ridiculous.
That's like how long it takes to get from the Oregon border to maybe LA. A little bit long. I mean, it's like, but California is like it's long and skinny. Texas is like that big in all directions. It's a little,
just
a little chubby
big.
boy.
Right.
It's long and tall.
And I don't live near any of it, you know. It's like I live near Dallas, which sucks, you know. I mean,
cowboy country.
Yeah, no, it's the Bible Belt, and it's Trump territory, and yeah,
it's an interesting place. Dallas is,
sure.
you know, Dallas is more diverse and metropolitan than some cities. Houston's actually the one that kind of blows me away. Houston's a crazy diverse city. Huge Vietnamese population, which is something. San Jose has the largest Vietnamese population in the world outside of Vietnam. So like anytime I go somewhere where there's lots of Vietnamese people, I feel really at home. I feel really at home. And I was like, why does Houston feel so comfortable? Yeah. That's because there's a pho shop on every fucking corner. There's banh mi's everywhere. I was like, oh, gotcha. That's what it is.
Right. Yeah. No, I live in a heavy Vietnamese area. I live in Haltom City, which is right outside of Fort Worth. But yeah, it's a heavy Vietnamese area around here, heavy Hispanic. So there's good food everywhere. Yeah,
that's good. I always eat well in Texas. One of the first things I ordered when the shelter in place started, just because it happened right around when I was getting all these tour memory photos on Facebook, was a big box of collages from Pearls.
Oh, wow.
Because that's just not something that you can get here at all. And it's such a unique food item that's like so uniquely Texas, and maybe even really just part of Texas, but it seemed like they were available pretty much everywhere.
Right.
But it is good stuff, man.
No, I like kolaches.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like from the outside, the Dallas metro area doesn't feel like it has a personality music-wise. Like I don't attach any kind of scene to it. And there aren't that many bands that I can even name that, you know, that are Dallas, but Mothership, you know, maybe.
It's funny that last band, Mask of Sanity, their initials are MOS. That's the same initials of Mountain of Smoke, which is a band from here that I highly recommend. They're a really good band. I'll actually tell them they should submit something to y'all. But
for sure.
No,
well, we won't look them up. No.
Yeah, you should. It's bass, drums, and lap steel, and then weird, just I guess it's lap steel run through a bunch of effects pedals and stuff.
Oh, nice.
But
oddly enough, we've already had one of those submit music.
There's a band called Frack.
Yeah, they were called
from Sacramento.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but I'd love to hear another one. I love the lap steel. I think that is just the coolest instrument. I love the way it sounds.
Right.
Oh,
But no, there's a lot of bands here. There's not like I couldn't really tell you if there's like a super cohesive scene or anything, just because like, you know, I'm older and I mainly just hang out with my girlfriend. And, you know, there's a lot of bands here, a lot of really good bands.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of them don't get out and like make a name for themselves. It's a little, like I said, you know, you're kind of left to your own devices, and it's a little harder to just like get out and get noticed here, you know. Seems like more bands have with the invention of the internet and stuff, you know, but
yeah. Well, Reverend Horton Heat.
All right. Are you looking up famous
looking
Dallas?
It
up. All right. So
the Polyphonic Spree was from Dallas, apparently.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No, I know several people that have been in and out of that band. It's kind of like a revolving door of like, you know, 50 people or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, weren't they kind of one of those bands that just took drugs and made noise and like eventually turned into a band?
Well, they started out as a band called Tripping Daisy, which
That's right.
Beavis and Butthead actually made fun of them. So that kind of gives you an idea how long ago that was. But then Tim DeLauder from that band ended up starting Polyphonic Spree, and it was just kind of a rotating cast of people. And I mean, they ended up making a really good name for themselves, and were on like some iPad or it's like an iPod commercial, I think.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of what was their big break.
Yeah, I mean that's
and
that's the way to make the money these days. Have you guys been able to get? I mean, it feels like you guys could get music into video games like fucking crazy. It just takes the right connects to do it. To like get it submitted. But man, I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077. You could easily be in the background of that entire game.
Right.
It'd be perfect.
There's I'm not making the connection somewhere with whoever makes those decisions, unfortunately, because no, I remember I had tons of people when that movie Mandy came out that were just like, oh, why didn't y'all do the score for Mandy? You know, but
it's like no one asked.
Yeah, no one asked.
yeah, I'd gladly have done it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a hilarious rabbit hole, dude. Speaking of Profound Lore, whatever the John Carpenter's label, they ended up making the album that Jeremiah Sands in the movie, the cult leader, talks about that he made. They actually went and made his fake album and put it out on that same label, so you can buy the Jeremiah Sands record, and it's this really trippy folk. It's pretty funny.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's all Eddie and the Cruiser style, man.
Hannah Montana style for those
there you go.
for the current generation. All right, so this one, House of Lightning, houseoflightning.bandcamp.com.
I am going to be really disappointed if I don't like this.
Intrigued the fuck out of me
because this looks so cool.
Yeah, the album art's kind of like it's like an X-ray of a human, but also a weird, maybe like cubist android. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's really cool. And the song that we're listening to is called James Brown.
James Brown.
Yes.
I like that.
James Brown. All right. So
branding is on point.
So how they found us, I don't know. I guess I don't care, but let's just hear it.
Take it as he goes. I know you'll be watching. For page that it's your turn to make me come alive. I know you'll be watching. In time, you want it, you need it. Take it as he goes.
The song is 8 minutes long, in case you hadn't noticed.
Oh my God, really?
I don't really want to stop it, honestly.
I want you next door. I needed you to know. I know you'll be watching.
That is not what I was expecting at all.
No, not at all. But I really like it, and it's funny. We've listened to a lot of bands that are kind of this like left field. I mean, you could throw those guys in with Dead or with Godzillionaire or even like a Disaster. The vocals are different, but the music and the arrangements are like out there a little bit. It's not. They're not doing the normal shit at all.
No, that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't even know like how to categorize that or anything.
No, I'm having a hard time like explaining what I'm hearing.
It's just that's just like a good heavy rock band. There's weird time changes, there's weird rhythmic stuff, there's odd choices in chords and progressions.
There's some sick drum fills on that.
There's some great fills. Yeah, it's
parts of it sound really familiar and other parts of it are just like, oh wait, this shouldn't be with this, but it sounds.
I've never
great
heard
with
this band named
like,
Godzillionaire before. That's hilarious.
Yeah, they're a really good. We discovered them. I discovered them in here. JD already knew who they were.
I think
anyways.
they might also be Indiana or something like that.
So this is Miami, Florida. So let's throw another monkey wrench in this whole thing and go.
Yeah, right.
What the fuck? Guys playing a BC Rich. I can see a little Mockingbird back there. I mean, it sounded great. I can't wait to hear it through the good interface and not through Zoom, because there was really cool stuff, interplay going on between the bass and the guitar and the drums, in kind of a rushy way where they're they're locked in and then they're separate and then they're locked in again and then they're separate again. Like everybody has their space to move around and do stuff. I always love that in music. And then just some really angular, weird changes.
Well, and I think too,
kind of neat vocal harmonies that kicked in there for a minute.
I liked the vocals. I was not expecting that, and I really liked those vocals, the way they fit in there. They didn't sound like they should fit, but they totally did.
No, it was like kind of a weird dreamy poppy thing. So like if Enver from Disasteroid was singing on that, or the dude from Godzillionaire, you go like, oh, I know, this is like that like post 90s post grunge noise rock.
Completely. And I kept hearing
like
the 90s.
Torch.
That's what I was just gonna say. I kept hearing Torch in there, and makes sense because Torch is from Miami, Florida.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. Although I don't know if Steve has been in Florida for a long, long time. He's like on the Oregon coast.
Yeah.
It doesn't leave. You can't wash that off, though, man.
Yeah.
You can run. Well, okay, so 8 minutes. So this is gonna go somewhere.
It's gonna.
I want to hear it. Let's hear where it goes.
Yeah, I want to hear some more.
Yep.
Yep.
So let's do this. One of the reviews, somebody says that at 604 equals pure bliss.
Oh, well, thank you, reviewer. So yeah, that makes our job easy. So here's my theory. And if you guys listen to this, House of Lightning, I love having my theories proven or disproved. The guitar player and the drummer are metalheads. The bass player and the singer are not.
Well, the guitar player and the singer are the same person.
Well, that's totally messes everything that I was just looking at. Fucking facts.
So maybe it's just the bass player is not.
Yeah, but I will say, I wish I really like it. I wish they had some more, because the vocals stand out so much, but in the recording they're so dry.
Yeah,
I think there was a real opportunity to play around with the production on the vocals a little bit to kind of. I don't know. It's almost like they're not quite nesting in the song. That's one of the hardest things from a production standpoint, is to get the vocals in the right spot in the mix. But I feel like I want them to be weirder. You know, they're so like clean and dry, and the music's so fucking weird that I think it would be cool if the vocals were kind of moving around a little bit, had some modulation or something that just gave them a little bit more life than they had. I don't know. I'm not their producer, so they don't have to listen to me at all. I just think it would be fun. It's fun music.
It would be fun.
It's fucking weird, fun music. So I like when people just have fun with it. All right, so 604.
Right. 604.
Alrighty.
Let me ask you real quick. Do you often think of bands in a like a perspective of like this person in the band's metal, and you can hear that there's people in the band that aren't metal? I mean, does that come up often?
No, it doesn't.
That's kind of true about Pinkish Black. John Teague is very much. I mean, he grew up very much into metal stuff and punk, but I mean, he knows a lot more about metal than I do, and I guess I know a lot more about just, I don't know, weirdo crap.
Yeah. Well, I think for drummers especially, because technique and feel are so different. Like, first of all, are we playing double kick or not? Right. And then how are you using the double kick? And then where are you sitting in the beat? Metal drummers tend to sit kind of in the middle or even ahead sometimes. They don't tend to lay back the way drummers who come from, you know, other styles of music will kind of sit at the back of the beat a little bit more. And so it tends to have a much more straightforward feel. And he's kind of going in and out of that, but there's some double kick shit that he's doing that makes me think like, oh, he's done that before when there's just been like a mega chug going on in sync with those you know, those bass drum strikes.
Right.
Yeah. No, but sometimes we look at their picture and try to guess who plays what.
Yeah, that's the other fun game. Guess the instrument.
Guess the instrument.
That's
you know,
funny.
With guitar and metal in particular, there's equipment, tone, and technique, and a lot of time you can tell a metal guitar player by their rhythm hand, right? By their like favored picking techniques, and whether they're like really adept at kind of the chugs and the triplets and kind of the classic metal picking techniques, or if when they get to that, it's like sloppy, it's not as tight, and you can tell they haven't just spent hours and hours going or whatever. You can sort of, they're doing it, but it doesn't sound quite right. I don't know.
Right.
Or I'm just, or I talk out of my ass a lot. There's that too.
No, I know what you're saying though.
We had one YouTube commenter. Why does that guy talk so much?
Tell the guy in that one shirt to shut up.
Hey, make your own show.
Why does the guy on a podcast talk so much?
Yeah.
That's a title of a book right there.
Yeah, right.
All right, 6:04. I'll give him 2 seconds.
We're going to Bliss, right?
Okay, I just discovered something.
What?
The drummer was in Floor.
Oh, that's the drummer from Floor. Okay. There we go.
There we go.
Sorry,
there's
Floor.
our connection.
Sorry, Steve. Sorry, Torch.
Yeah. No, we did a few shows with Floor when they got back together for a reunion. That was a fun time.
Yeah, no, I really like this a lot. This is like, I'll go back and listen to this for sure.
How did we get somebody to submit a track from an album that came out 5 years ago?
I don't know. Someone said, hey, listen to my fucking band.
Well, I'm glad we discovered it because we dig it.
Yeah,
Can
that's
you guys
interesting.
put it out on vinyl so I can buy a copy? I know how easy that is. Just do it. It doesn't cost anything. It's fine.
Just do it.
Just do it. That's the second Shia LaBeouf we've gotten.
Oh, God.
Santos gave us a Just Do It too.
So that was actually I was going to ask you about that because I noticed that the only one that you have on vinyl on your Bandcamp is your first. And so does Relapse only put out the vinyl and you guys get to do the digital on all the other ones?
No, they own it. Like Relapse owns all the, like, because I guess we have two albums with Relapse as Pinkish Black, one with Century Media, and then the first one with Handmade Birds. Century Media owns everything outright for that record, and then Relapse, they own everything digital and vinyl wise. All the vinyls out of print for everything. And I don't know if they'll be repressing it, but
they should.
Get
your shit together, Relapse.
I think after a certain period of time, we have option to like buy the rights for the albums back from Relapse, and or we'll be able to repress it at some point ourselves, hopefully. So we'll see.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, an interesting lesson though. I mean, like the reason I say things like at your level is people from the outside assume that a band that's released records on Century Media and Relapse has probably gotten some money from those records, and it's not even necessarily the case. You know what I mean?
No.
So
Oh no, we owed Century Media money for sure.
Jesus.
But,
See people,
you know.
see them on tour, buy their merch.
Yeah.
all right, so I'm gonna close out this round at least with the Bandcamp selection, and we can be conscious of your time here. We can keep going or stop just depending on whatever it is you got going on.
I'm free.
Yeah, we're
nice.
We're marathon men. All right, so this is a Bandcamp selection. It was in the Bandcamp weekly picks, and it was just a feature about this French folk artist named Sourdure. I'm sure I butchered that. Anyways, really fascinating story. A guy who's been into, at different times, everything from hip hop and trip hop to, folk and rock. He has a really diverse background. He's from this central part of France, which is where the original troubadour tradition comes from. And he discovered that his people actually didn't even speak the language that they speak in France now. And in fact, there are very few native speakers of the language that he, discovered when he started digging into this old folk tradition. He wanted to learn about the music of his people, the past music of his people, and there just wasn't that much information about it. So there's a really cool article about it. He might be Algerian. France has some interesting relationships over the time, over history with people from Africa, and particularly from Algiers coming over, and that has caused lots of strife in France. So if you want to look into that a little bit, but the traditional troubadour music is sung in a language called Occitan, which he went and learned so that he could make this folk music and then sing it in the original language that the traveling musicians would have sung in.
Wow. And
he assembled it out of all of his range of instruments and equipment, some modern, but then he found this like a library of ethnomusicologists and research students who had gone and recorded samples of traditional folk instruments. In the 60s and 70s, they kind of archived, hey, this was all the shit that people used to play. Let's record it so that we know what it sounds like. So he dug through all those samples and started putting music together and then singing his new creations with these old instrument samples in this old language that nobody speaks anymore. So that was kind of their intro to it. Tell me a story like that. I definitely want to hear more.
I can't wait to hear this.
All right, so this song, there's only this album, so it's sourdura.bandcamp.com, and I think this is a pre-order. Looks like there's a vinyl and a digital, and the song that we are going to listen to is called La Rupture, and here it is. Some unearthed from beyond the grave French folk music.
Nice. That's fucking cool.
That's really cool.
That is awesome.
Wow.
That sounded like Serge Gainsbourg, or I mean, like Jacques Brel doing like tube and throat singing. Like,
Yeah, a little bit.
that was awesome.
Well, and what it tells me, depending on how well he has kind of interpreted the past, is that the French musical tradition probably owes a debt to the Middle East and or Africa.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
to some degree.
Wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, I want to listen to the rest of this. This is really cool. It's on Bandcamp right now. It's in one of their featured articles. There's only 2 songs available to listen to so far, but he lists the instruments that they used down here.
I want to know obviously there was.
So it's all in French or that other language, but there's concertina. I don't know what viella roux is. Voice. I know daf. I don't know what a daf is. Banjo, cornet à bouquin, trompette baroque, and trumpet. So there's some horns, but those were samples. Those were like, you could hear when they were playing that someone was cycling a sample, but something called a cabaret. Fucking weird, man.
Oh, look, it comes out on Friday.
Oh, it comes out on
Happy birthday to me.
Oh. Friday's JD's birthday retroactively. So if you're listening on Monday when this comes out,
that's right.
Last Friday was JD's
Happy
birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Send that man a gift. Send him records.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. All right,
yeah, I was very stoked on that.
I'll stop the share for a minute here. So you can't show off your guitar that you bought. Have you bulked up and bought any other new equipment
I bought a PV Ultraverb effects processor, which once again was something I'd had since I was like 13. That I still actually have it, but it doesn't work. So I bought a working one off of eBay for like $100, and don't know if I'll ever actually use it on stage, but I really do. The effects on it are really awesome. So
yeah,
and it's something I easily know how to work. So, but outside of that, no, I've like probably most people, been a little afraid of what was to come. So any money I was getting, I was hanging on to,
stashing money away. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no,
pretty much.
I hear that for sure. It's funny that all that old stuff from, the 90s when we were teenagers, first starting to make music is making this big comeback. But the last thing on earth I would buy is the crate bass amp that was my starter bass amp. I mean, there's no Billy Corgan, I recorded Siamese Dream with this crate guitar amp story to go with my bass amp. It just sounded like a wet fart from the first
Wow.
The first second I turned it on until the time I got rid of it and bought a decent amp. So
no, PV is the way to go, man. That's like, because it was pawn shop gear, but man, it was rugged as hell. I still use PV, like a PV Black Widow cabinet in my rig.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, I almost swear by it, man.
Those were tricky because you had to make sure you got the right speakers, because those were easy to blow too, and they had different quality levels in the cabs in particular. And when I was 16, I didn't know the difference, so I bought some shitty gear.
Right.
If you're a bass player in San Jose, you are literally obligated to play Gallien-Kruger because GK is from here, and my current singer is his bandmate was George Kruger, who was the son of one of the original founders of Gallien-Kruger. Of Gallien-Kruger.
Kruger.
So they're everywhere. It was like you couldn't, and I mean, those amps are bomb proof. When Billy is playing in High Tone Son of a Bitch right now, and they toured through a year and a half ago, and he's still playing probably the same GK 800 RB that he bought in, 1990, 1989. And since it's solid state, it's like indestructible virtually.
Yeah. That's what's, I mean, I wouldn't tour with tube amps playing the kind of crap I do, man.
I know I do. And I think twice about it all the time. And I bring a backup with me, but still I would love to not have to heft that shit around, but also to not have a dumb rack of gear to run straight to the board. There's got to be something in between.
Isn't Russ Kent in that High Tone Son of a Bitch band?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
okay, yeah, because he plays all tube stuff, and we toured with Alaric over in Europe, and yeah, I was he had to baby that stuff, but no, he's a great guitarist.
Yeah, for sure. All right, you have any records? Did you get anything this week?
I got one.
Yeah, what'd you get?
Who was it that told us about it?
Well, you're gonna have to show it to me first.
It's Junius.
Oh yes.
So Junius, look at that! Look at the way it sparkles.
Look at
Look at
that sweet ring light.
Flips open.
That was wasn't that Santos?
Wow.
No, it wasn't Santos. It was Asphodel wine.
Oh, that's right. It was
cool yellow.
Zach Livingston from Minsk.
That's right.
He and his girlfriend, who used to be in Sub Rosa when Sub Rosa was still a band, have started a new band called Asphodel Wine. That's if you want some goth throwback.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a couple writing dirty goth love songs. I mean, it stirred up some old feelings in me for sure. Sure, listening to that stuff, because it was like, oh man,
yeah,
this feels like trying to woo my girlfriend in 1989 or whatever. Look at what I have.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah, he told us about that. It's really good.
I got a delightful 2-record shipment of Opeth albums.
Ooh.
Went down another. This is the record they released in 2019, which is all sung in Swedish.
Which one? What's it called?
It is called Incada Venenum, something like that. Something about venom, I'm sure.
Venom.
But yeah, them singing in Swedish, which I wish more of the Swedish bands, or really any of the bands from parts of Europe where they don't speak English as their native tongue, that they would sing in the native tongue. I don't know. Hopefully people would put up with it. But more importantly, the reason I went to buy Opeth records in the first place is this is the live recording from their Live at Red Rocks concert, which I fell down a YouTube rabbit hole watching over and over again. It's an absolutely stunning live recording. I mean, Red Rocks is like a once-in-a-lifetime venue. I mean, I can't even imagine playing in that place at night. It would be so insane. And then
have you seen a show there before?
I've never seen a show there. I've only seen footage of shows from there. Have you been there?
I walked out of a Queens of the Stone Age show there.
Oh, you walked out?
You walked out? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was that bad?
No, I mean, I've always kind of been on the fence about that band. I feel like they write some pretty solid pop songs, but no, there's so many dude bros. It was I felt like I was at a football game. I mean, it was just, and I think it's almost like an ICP thing with them. It's like, I don't mind the band as much as I mind the fans,
Right.
And so, it was, but no, we lost our car there because we had a rental car, and of course we're in Colorado. I'm really high, and we lost our car because I couldn't remember what it looked like because it was a rental. And
in the parking lot.
And there's like crazy different places to park all throughout there. I thought there was just one road that you parked on, but apparently there was 4 or something. But no, we ended up like walking around for a long time and finally getting a cab back to our hotel and then taking an Uber back out there the next day to like ride around, click our thing. Find the car. We found it eventually.
Alarm. Oh, yeah, that's hilarious.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Good that you found it.
I'm assuming they were playing all their hits, but what album were they supporting, or were they?
Oh man, this was probably about 4 years ago.
Yeah. So
okay.
If you took an Uber, it's that sort of dates it to some degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
So I don't even know which album it was, but
I haven't been able to really get into a Queens of the Stone Age album since Songs for the Deaf.
And see, like back then, it's like we used to drive around and listen to that shit all the time. But I feel like I listened to it so much, or heard it played at bars so much that we were playing at that, like it's just like Freebird now. I don't need to hear it that much.
Yeah, there's a couple songs on there that I'll go back to. The song that Mark Lanigan sings on,
that's a good one.
I really like.
Yeah.
There's a couple of good ones, but yeah, like No One Knows, or it's just okay.
Every once in a while, I'll pull up those first few albums and just be like,
oh, I still love I love Rated R.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I mean, I feel like it's just I didn't know the first time I heard it, I thought it was Radiohead. So somebody was playing it for me at a record store I was working at, and I was like, this a new Radiohead or something? And then it's like, so immediate, like right off the bat, I was just like, because I'm not a Radiohead fan, but I guess I hadn't heard any Radiohead since like Creep or whatever first came out. So, but yeah, I don't know. I ended up liking it a lot, but like I said, I just think I like oversaturated myself with it there for a period of time.
Completely.
I will say that I would go and listen to No One Knows if somebody gave me the job of writing like a perfect hooky pop song that has all the elements of a rock song, like fit in a guitar solo, like give me an intro, like give me like classic rock song that's like fucking the most radio friendly catchy shit ever, and just try to copy that song.
Right.
I mean, it's an incredible piece of work. I just don't want to hear it anymore.
Right.
So did you ever go back and dig into Radiohead, or is it you just kind of like checked them off the list? And
no, I mean, I've listened to, like, I've worked at places where other people were super fans and listened to all of it and stuff. So I've heard like OK Computer and Kid A and, you know, all those albums. I've never owned them, but you know, it's nothing I'm against. I will say this though, I blame them solely for driving the price up on analog synthesizers. Because when they played on Saturday Night Live and he brought out that huge modular rig, and yeah, every band needed a synthesizer after that. So you know, you could find those things for $30 at any pawn shop anywhere, and now they're priceless.
They're all bought up and priceless. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep. Damn you, Radiohead.
I still put OK Computer in like a pantheon of favorite albums of all time. It really is a great record, and then I kind of signed off after that one.
Right.
It got
like I said, I have nothing against them. And when Creep came out, I actually thought that was an awesome song, and apparently they don't like that song. But because back then I was like listening to like Flaming Lips and Mercury Rev and Roller Skate Skinny and all these like indie bands, and that all had a lot of crazy big sounds, and I thought that Radiohead fit right into that. But then like I just never really followed up on it until years later after they were huge. But
I mean, OK Computer's like their weird prog concept album. It was, and I almost feel like they finished it, and whoever the decision makers are listen to it back, and they're like, it's good, but it's like this much too close to us becoming Rush. So we're gonna put this record out, and then we're never gonna do it again. We're gonna go in the complete opposite direction.
And I liked the direction they went. I followed them for a long time, actually.
Yeah. And then it was it was fucking Muse that went like, OK Computer, yeah, we can do that, and then they just made an entire career out of remaking variations of that record.
Wow, that's funny. Yeah, because I've heard a couple of Muse songs, and one of them I actually really liked, but it's because it sounded like it was produced by Ennio Morricone. You know, it's got this like super like
Knights of Sidonia.
That's that song. Yeah, that's the song. Like. Yeah, I didn't figure the rest of their stuff probably sounded like that. And it kind of, you know, it's kind of like Pulp or something. It's like, I'll like a couple of Pulp songs, but then the rest of it I won't. You know, I'm just like, I don't know if I can get on board with all this. But
that feel kind of permeates that whole record, and then that song kind of caps it off. And then again, I kind of feel like they went, all right, we did that. All right, time to do something else. You know, unlikely Muse song that I love is the Bonkers, like Queen ripoff that they wrote for the Olympics in London. They wrote like the theme song for the London Olympics, and it is like completely insane, crazy layered Bohemian Rhapsody style Queen nonsense, and it's fantastic.
Never heard that.
It's a good one. Yeah, if you're bored someday, go back and listen to it. All right. Well, I'm gonna
bored someday.
I'm gonna play we got two more, and then we'll get you out of here. This one I'm so fascinated by, and as soon as you see the cover, I know you are going to be as well. I feel almost devious. All right, this is what we're listening to next.
Oh.
Okay.
Malacoda. So we've got like a demoness in bondage gear. We got some kind of like gothy situation, green eyes, and a bunch of snakes and tentacles.
Is Malacoda her name?
I don't know. Maybe. I have not gotten into the lore of this band.
The funny thing about this is when I look at it, I don't see goth. I think this is going to be like some crazy falsetto singing metal songstress.
Oh yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be goth. I'm just trying to like give a visual. Like she's wearing an outfit that was definitely procured at Hot Topic.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's what I mean.
100%.
So by goth, I mean that.
Or your local sex toys /
there you go.
Goth clothing store.
Yes. There we go. I've never been into one of those, so I don't really know what you're talking about, but I'll just go with it. All right, so this...
Maybe that was just a Utah thing.
Oh, this song is called Crawling Chaos. The band is called Malacoda, Malacoda.bandcamp.com. And they are from Oakville, Ontario, Canada. Ooh, wait, let's do this first. We're going to look at the band photo.
There's not even a lady in the band.
We're getting some fucking blue steel from Guy in the Middle.
Yeah, we are.
He's like deep in my soul right now. All right, well, one of those guys tripped and fell down a set of stairs. I could fit in pretty well. All right, if you guys need a bass player at some point, give me a buzz. I have the same dark circles. I can do dark circles all day under my eyes. Although then they got the guy on the left. We're looking at their band photo. Guy on the left looks half the age of the other two and is wearing a Slipknot t-shirt.
Half the age. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
Sacrifice.
Color me curious. All right.
Yeah. I'm
really curious now.
Crawling Chaos. Oh, so much chorus.
Beginnings of a goth song.
Yeah, for sure. Guest vocals.
I was gonna say, which dude is doing that?
I'm gonna give that a solid not for me.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
Three-way not for me.
Three-way not for me.
Okay,
yeah.
So I felt real bad because you go down to the band here. We have Lucas vocals and keyboards. We have Wes playing guitar. Zach on bass. No drummer. No mention.
Oh.
It's okay. You don't matter. I mean, drummers are used to it. He's probably dead. I mean, who knows? He's in a bathtub somewhere. But then I scrolled up and it says, well, we lost our drummer, so we had a variety of friends behind the kit as we were recording this. So the drums is our bros, I guess, is who gets credit for playing drums.
Oh, it says, well, yeah, there's a bunch of drummer credits.
Yeah. So I mean, you look at their tags: HP Lovecraft, Camelot, metal, symphonic metal, dark, epic, goth. If those are your things. His voice gave me a certain I couldn't remember the 80s hair singer that it evoked for a second. It was like, oh my god, it sounds exactly like him, but there was definitely some little bit of that in there too. It's interesting how those of us who lived through that time have landed in other bands and kind of I don't know, I'll say matured, gotten better taste. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to look at it.
He's rude.
And then, well, hey, one of them's in my own fucking band, man. I got pictures of Carl in a black top hat like he was fucking Slash. It's not We're not.
This is true.
We're not.
This
We're
is
not
true.
immune to it, but it's like some of the habits, playing, singing, whatever. Like they die hard, and so it's like, oh man, that guy totally fronted a band in like 1987 in Ontario, where he was singing Skid Row covers or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. No, it's kind of like the vocals were kind of like that power metal, but without like the falsetto. I mean, maybe he was about to bust into some falsetto, but it was that very like marching into war.
Yeah.
Don't know where we're going.
They're gonna be mad though because this is not power metal. They don't have swords and horses.
Yeah.
This is they're in like they're in like an alley somewhere in Paris in 1898, like feasting on rats in a corner, and then the vampire comes down.
Rats and the Pied Piper.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yes.
All right. Sounds
very
like
Malacoda.
sad. It was very like sad but true territory for me. Like I don't know, just the sort of like.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
Well done. We are not your audience. All right. So for the final, because the last episode that I pulled music for, I pulled one song that we didn't get to,
really?
Which was by a band called Gaupa, which we learned from Max in Sweden is one of the best bands in Sweden right now.
Really?
Well, at least that's what he said.
All right.
From Falun, Sweden.
Don't let us down, Max.
He signed off on these guys hardcore. I think they all sing in Swedish. So we're gonna hear some Swedish. We got a pretty cool like three-eyed cat, wolf, owl album cover.
Huh. So Gaupa means lynx?
It means lynx in Swedish. Gaupa.
Oh.
Ooh, we got a band photo.
Oh.
Okay, here's the band. All right, who plays what? This is
Well, I mean, the singer is right in the middle, right?
Well, if the singer has a female voice, then I think we can go ahead and call that one done. But yeah, you line up these like three tall blonde Swedish dudes in the background, and it's like, sure. Whatever, yeah.
They do look really tall, don't they? Like, is that guy on the far left like 7'10"?
He might be.
Either that or everybody else is only like 5'4".
So, for those of you listening, and when Max says Gaupa, it sounds like it has 8 more vowels in it. It's like had a lot of vowels, but it's Gaupa, and their Bandcamp is gaupaband.bandcamp.com, and the track that we're going to listen to is called Mammon. And let's hear it. Holy shit. It's Bjork.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's really cool, but it's Bjork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
me of me. It says something. We're 3.5 minutes in, and still...
I really like it. It's fucking great, but it's so great. I mean, we know who her influences are.
her influence,
her influence,
singular.
No, that was cool though.
Like, if you said, do you want to hear what it would sound like if, like, kind of a psychedelic prog rock metal band had Bjork as a lead singer? I'd be like, yeah, sure.
I want to hear that.
Yes, yesterday.
Yeah. It almost reminded me of like Daisy Chainsaw at moments. I don't know if y'all are familiar with them at all.
Oh my God, I haven't heard them in so long.
Yeah, that's like the first album that they put out was like a freaking great record. But no, just, I mean, it's crazy girl singing stuff, but that reminds me of it. But no, that would mean I liked that regardless. But yeah, I mean, man, Bjork all the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. So well done, Max.
Good job, Max.
So now we will continue to trust your recommendations and your opinion. So that they had like one full length that looks like that was released in 2018-ish. And then there was like a series of singles starting in January of last year. Like maybe they hunkered down and just recorded some songs. I don't know. That was really cool.
When you say last year, you mean 2019, right?
No, 2020.
Oh, okay.
No.
You really mean last year.
I really mean last year, not the missing year.
Not the missing year. Okay.
So this was, that song was actually pretty recent. That song was released in just in December of 2020, like right before the new year.
That's funny.
Gaup,
That's awesome.
Gaup.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to more of that. I want to hear more of what Björk sounds like in a progressive metal band.
I mean, it wasn't just like the tone; it was the phrasing.
It was everything.
All of it.
It was everything.
Yeah. That's creepily close.
Yeah, it wasn't like your voice sounds like Björk. It was like you are Björk.
Yeah, I mean, she dropped it a little bit in with the chorus, whatever you want to call it, in the second part she sang.
When
it was a little more straightforward,
heavier, but still, it was there.
Yeah,
it really does make me want to crank "Army of Me" right now.
It does, huh?
I mean, goddamn, that's like a nearly perfect song.
Oh man!
All right, well, shit,
that's awesome.
You ran us out of music, which is a good thing.
Oh man, I there was one thing that I found funny that I wanted to ask you about. Was I think I saw in another article that I was reading. See, we do our research.
Wikipedia.
That the which one? The concept unification was inspired by your childhood memories of Showbiz Pizza.
Oh, let's
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, let's talk here because I feel to blame. I mean, Chuck E. Cheese is a fucking San Jose thing.
Yeah.
We did this to you.
We did this to you.
Yeah. And when I was a kid, I went to Chuck E. Cheese I went to Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz for several birthday parties, but I had one in particular where I went and they only had like one part of the stage open. And this was probably like my 8th birthday. And I didn't know what was going on with the rest of the stage. I'm pretty sure I peeked behind the curtain and there was nothing there. And it just freaked me out.
Aww.
But years later, I'm watching a documentary about the Rock-afire explosion from Showbiz Pizza. And it's a great documentary.
Yeah,
and
I've seen most of it. It's really good.
Yeah, but the clips they show of them like ripping the flesh and stuff off of all the animatronics,
yep.
And that just stuck with me. And that whole process was called concept unification, and that to me just like seemed like the perfect word salad for like just what the world is like now, to where it's like, oh, it's terrible, but so let's just put new clothing on it, or give it collagen lip implants and then it's all better, and just like it's just such this whitewashing of everything, to where it's just like, oh, it's still just the same thing, it's just got a new coat of paint on it, and but it works worse, and it doesn't, and it won't last as long, and it's not nearly of the value of the other ones. But
yeah, it's a great way to look at kind of how the corporatization of everything takes away all the like joy and excitement out of stuff. I mean, how fucking cool were those? So we had Chuck E. Cheese, but we actually had a competitor here called Bullwinkles that was officially licensed Bullwinkles, with like a Bullwinkles band and Natasha and the whole thing. So I got to go to the original Chuck E. Cheese and to Bullwinkles, and it's like that shit was magical. So to boil that down to sometime later in life, well, we need to have some concept unification here. We're running. There's not enough synergy between our Showbiz brand and our Chuck E. Cheese brand. So we need to decide, is it mouse or is it, it's like, oh, like that's not.
Did you not have Showbiz here?
No, there was no Showbiz here.
Oh, we had both.
Yeah, we didn't. We had.
Yeah, but Showbiz was by far the better one.
Well, yeah, I mean, it felt like going and watching a real band. Yeah. It was crazy.
Because you guys didn't probably ever see a real Chuck E. Cheese in its. I mean, we had the OG Chuck E. Cheese here that I'm remembering was incredible. Gigantic cheese maze in the middle of the building. I have crazy memories. I saw a kid have a seizure. The first time I ever saw someone have a seizure was at Chuck E. Cheese. Jesus. We were there for some kind of school outing, and kid just like fell on the floor, shaking, like foaming at the mouth and biting his tongue. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? I've never seen anything like this before in my life.
Damn.
When did you see your first seizure, Daron? I'm kidding.
I don't really know. I've seen a few though. So
well, life moments.
I had a
brought to you by Blynd Submyshynz. No.
I had a crazy thought because that shit just all crashed and burned, and I don't know if they closed all the Chuck E. Cheese locations, but they closed a bunch of them during this year.
Yeah.
We have one closed very close to our house, and just yesterday I pulled it up on Yelp to flip through pictures of the inside, because you know what it would make?
A great venue.
A really great venue. So what if we could turn this whole thing inside out by turning a Chuck E. Cheese into a fucking rad underground music venue?
Into an actual music venue? Not a pretend one for kids?
And the very first performer to play there, and I'll talk to him, is Captured by Robots. I mean, there is only one band that you could have open a venue that used to be a Chuck E. Cheese.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% on board with that. No, that guy's incredible. I love that shit.
And he's here. I mean, he lives like 45 minutes north. He's close.
Oh wow.
He's a Bay Area guy. So
that would be amazing.
And he's I don't know if you're friends. I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he's like as curmudgeonly in his real life as you would expect based on his band and his concept. and his Facebook feed is just all like petty battles with his neighbors over random shit.
Wow, that's funny. No, I've never met him in real life before, so yeah, we're not Facebook friends either. But no, that sounds funny.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we're gonna tie things together much better than from Showbiz Pizza and your concept album to opening up a venue at Chuck E. Cheese.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if it was that documentary or one of the other ones that talks about it. There's still a bunch of those animatronics like scattered around in various places in various states of repair or disrepair that you can get your hands on.
Yeah, I'm on a couple of Facebook pages of people that are collectors of that stuff, and it's a pretty weird group of folks.
I would imagine so.
But no, we had a pizza place here that was kind of like a competitor. It was older than Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz. It was called Crystal's Pizza, and then I used to go there all the time, and it was like a bordello for children, because it was all like real dark and sort of like, I don't even like I don't know how to describe it really. Yeah, but it just looked like some New Orleans thing from like, the 20s or something.
But for kids, that aesthetic that every kid loves.
Yeah,
creepy
New
Orleans.
But they had like all these like real busty statues on the walls and like holding it like light sconces and stuff. And
it was a different time.
No, but when that place closed down, I ended up going there and buying one of those wall sconces, and it's hanging over my fireplace now. And
that's great.
No, and got some creepy clown machine, those egg machines you put a quarter in and there's like a clown on a swing. Yeah, I ended up buying one of those.
That's amazing.
It's just sitting in my living room.
That's amazing.
Oh man, that's a good you said you had a girlfriend, but that's like a good screener for potential mates. Like, you bring a girl to your house for the first time and she walks in and sees the creepy clown toy machine and the weird thing over your fireplace, and it's like, are you in or are you not in?
Are you out?
Because this is what
you're getting.
She actually bought the clown for me.
Oh, there you go. All right. She's in.
She's a keeper.
I mean, I won't yell about it for too long, but do you guys know the story of the founding of Chuck E. Cheese? Like, who was behind it? Because it's part of
it was Nolan Bushnell. Yeah, the guy that started Atari. So
yeah, it's Silicon Valley history.
Yeah, no, he had the best business model. It's like, make arcade games that you can sell to your other company to have arcade games there, and then you just, it's like a circular profits, plan. But no.
Just show shit to yourself.
Yeah, I mean that was just like my dad's best friend, who was our across the street neighbor, was a developer at Atari. We would go to the place in Cupertino that was where the original like Space Invaders machine was. Like, because I was at the perfect age when all of that stuff was just getting started, and my dad was in the computer business, so it just like happened that I got to see and be around a bunch of that very beginnings of the video game industry stuff.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's crazy.
No, just one other side fact. I just recently found out, I don't know if y'all are fans of like any Sid and Marty Krofft stuff, like HR Puffin stuff, or Land of the Lost. The Sid and Marty Krofft, they created the first run of the Chuck E. Cheese characters. I didn't realize.
Oh, really?
That. Yeah.
Wow.
And they did the banana splits prior to that, but yeah, then I didn't know that they had also done the Chuck E. Cheese characters. So
yeah, because I remember they changed at some point. They didn't look the same. My memories of them from the original Chuck E. Cheese as a kid were different. We actually went to Bullwinkle's more. I actually thought it was more fun, and like I knew those characters because they were Hanna-Barbera family. Like, that's my Saturday mornings, Grape Ape and Rocky and Bullwinkle and. But like, who's Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah, who's this guy?
Why do I care about him? Except I like games.
Why do I want to eat with a rat?
Yeah. Oh man, I loved HR Puffin stuff.
All right, so we'll wrap up with the last thought, which is like favorite one or several bands from your hometown. So what do you consider your hometown?
It's really, sorry, I just burped. It's really Fort Worth, I guess, would be my hometown proper. But I've lived in Denton, I've lived in Dallas, but no, Fort Worth. And there's, like I said, a lot of good bands from around here. There's a band called there's Vaults of Zen. They're really good, like weird prog band. And I have a friend named Sarah Alexander that does a lot of just different types of music. It's kind of like there's a heavy Diamanda Galas influence on a lot of her stuff. And yeah, like I said earlier, Mountain of Smoke, they're a really great band. God, there's a ton.
Anybody from the past? Anybody from like your goth heyday?
Oh, well, yeah. Man, well, I mean, my favorite band of all time from Fort Worth was Yeti. Um, and that's that. I mean, my drummer was in from Pinkish Black. He was in Yeti,
Okay.
and it was him, the bass player from Great Tyrant, and a guitarist named Eric Harris, and a keyboardist named Doug Ferguson. And Doug died in 2002, and could have done so much more. They only put out one album with him. He was also in another band called Ohm, OHM, and they had a couple of releases out. But no, it's, if you look up Yeti and like Fort Worth or Denton, Texas on YouTube, you'll see a video, a live video from Rubber Gloves Rehearsal Studios, and it's yeah, they were just the most virtuosic band around at the time. And just like, when I listen to it now, it still blows my mind that they were friends of mine that were doing this music.
Wow.
And they got to do a small tour of the West Coast back in, like, that would have been like 98 or 99 maybe, I think. But no, they could have done so much more. There's still not a lot of bands that top them. But other than that, there was another band called Light Bright Highway that I hear y'all talking about effects pedals a lot on your podcast, and this guy had more effects than I've ever seen still to this day. And this was back in the 90s when it was kind of hard, when no one was making custom stuff. It was all vintage, like, just stuff. And he had like these like staircases built that he would bring out. He had two separate ones. One was like 3-tiered, one was 2-tiered, and they were super long and just covered in vintage
pedals
effects. And
wow,
it was instrumental. And they put out one record on a label called 2 Ohm Hop that was a local label, and it got one review in High Times, and it was a glowing review. And nothing ever came of it. But
what were they called again?
Light Bright Highway.
Light Bright Highway, like Light Bright.
Somebody
the toy?
Just recently posted their record to YouTube, and it doesn't show you what, because I used to like take mushrooms and go watch them and lay on the floor, and they would play for sometimes 2 hours. It would take sometimes half an hour for them to start, like, because he would just be like cycling through his effects and letting the sound of the effects pedals just build.
Yeah.
And like, that hiss, that like, and when you add more, it just changes that. And like, I don't know, and it hypnotized you into this just like realm. And then all of a sudden they'd be in the middle of this like crazy Black Sabbath riff with all this like swirling going, because they'd have like, 6 stereo cabinets set up, and the drummer used a timpani and a gong and chimes, and just it was like it was some orchestral stuff. And they had to put their record out on vinyl. So the one song that's on the record, it has a break in the middle because you have to flip the damn record over. You don't even like really get mesmerized by it the way that you would when you'd see it live. But
yeah, because
those guys, they lived in my house for a while, and so I'd get to hear them practice, and it was just like, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, that's definitely would be my jam, especially 20. I mean, you only get 20 minutes aside on a record, so it's really not that much you can do if you have a half hour effects build up to kick off your show.
Right. I mean, that's why we only put like 6 songs on our last record, because it's like, well, that's it's the amount of time. It's not the amount of songs. And one of our songs is like 13 minutes long. So it's just like, all right, well, there's one side.
That is not built for streaming, young man.
Yeah. I've been told that.
Yeah. Yeah, tell that to Sleep and the Bell Witch.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like fun. I don't know, the one that I just read about was the guitar player from My Bloody Valentine. I had his old engineer made a diagram of his rig, and it was like 8 heads and like over 60 pedals. Most of them fuzz pedals.
Wow.
Like in various chains to various amps and stuff. That's too much, man. I mean, come on.
If it sounds good, I guess it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, it's one thing in like a nice big venue with good sound, but you roll into like the dive with that shit and spend 2 hours to set it up, and everyone's just like, really? I can't can't. You click one more pedal, I can't tell the difference. I joke about that all the time because half the time I'm in a small venue and I step on a pedal, I go, I know that was just for me. Like,
right.
I know nobody else is going to hear that, but that's okay.
That's funny.
Awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, this has been great.
All right.
I'm glad you submitted a song. No.
Oh yeah, no, man, I'm stoked you guys wanted to have me on, and no, it's really cool.
We'll send you out on a guessing game, actually. So we picked one song from Concept Unification to play a snippet of before we brought you on. What's your guess? What song did we pick?
I would say maybe Dial Tone.
No.
Okay.
Oh. 2 guesses.
Yeah, 2 guesses. Guess them all. There's only 6.
There's only 6.
Is
You're gonna get it eventually.
Solution?
No, it was the second song. Until.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Trying to like of everything on the record was trying to like, if we make the assumption that a good chunk of our listeners come from that kind of stoner doom scene, that song kind of brings you in right away. It orients you around that, and then goes in other places, but is less different than a lot of the rest of the record a little bit.
Yeah, I would say
that was my thought, at least.
Right. No, it was my attempt at a T-Rex song.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
You know what? I have to re-listen to it now with that thinking, with that in mind.
With that in mind.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
Well, hey, it was really great to meet you.
Yeah, it was nice to meet both of y'all.
Can't wait until you're back on tour, or I'm in Texas or whatever, and we can see a show or see you play or just do anything other than this.
No, we'll be out there as soon as we can. So
I assume you guys don't have anything kind of booked or in the works. It's starting to roll a little bit. We're starting to get see requests and
not right now. I mean, I've been working on other random stuff. I've been like, I have a thing about to come out with Joe from Pallbearer. It's all electronic stuff. He does like all the music and had me come in and do some guest vocals on it. It's called Information Age, and I guess that's coming out fairly soon.
Oh, nice.
And me and the dudes from Zombie, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Zombie.
Yes, very much so. We've
been doing rando cover songs with Brian from the Sword, and posting those on YouTube for fun. So that's one random thing we've been doing. But no, as far as Pinkish Black goes, right before, in March of 2019, John moved to, in March of 2020, John moved to New Mexico. So we were already planning on being on a kind of hiatus while he got adjusted there. But once he got adjusted, we were planning on touring again. But then, the world shut down. We were kind of already preparing not to really do a whole lot last year, oddly enough. But now that things are looking different, I'm hoping we can tour at some point, either this year or next, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll probably end up recording an album before we actually tour again, but you never know. So
yeah, it's just all over the next couple months. It's just going to be really interesting to see how things open back up. It's come back to normal. I know that Santos said that Psycho sent out an email to all the artists to say that Psycho was going to happen, to prepare to come to Vegas and play Psycho. I know they just announced all the Bonnaroo headliners today, so that's big festival shit. But then that King Buffalo, who's a band who kicked the shit out of the quarantine, man, those guys wrote and recorded 3 records and made 3 live records, and they just announced a tour starting in September. And they're kind of peaking right now too. They seem to have it.
They're from Austin.
No, they're actually from Buffalo.
Yeah, they sound like they should be from Austin.
Yeah,
That's funny.
But yeah, they're from like upstate New York or something.
Yeah, I think from Buffalo. Yeah, they're crushing it right now, and I suspect we'll see some more kind of mid-level announcements like that as the smaller venues start to figure out when and how they can reopen. Interesting to know that they're like taking full bookings though. I mean that San Francisco show is booked at Bottom of the Hill. Where did you guys play with Torch? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's probably like Slims.
It was Slims or Bottom of the Hill, or could have been Bottom of
Slim
the Hill.
sounds familiar, actually.
Yeah,
I think it was. Slims.
That probably was Slims. That
closed.
like 500 cap.
Yeah,
that sounds
probably
about
so.
right
Yeah,
for Torch. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we will talk to you again.
Yeah.
But it was really great chatting, and maybe someday in person.
Yes,
yeah.
definitely.
Nice to meet you guys.
And looking forward to new music too. And whatever project you're working on, you you sort of talked about a bunch of collaborations. I'm excited to hear some of those.
Yeah, completely.
Killer.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Y'all take care.
You
Have
too.
a good one. Take care of yourself.
All right.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
All right. No, I don't want to report him.
You just hit report?
No, I said no. I hit don't report.
Oh, okay.
Because remove is one of the options, but I'm not
Yeah,
removing as a punitive.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, hey, it's time to go, buddy, and you
It's
don't
time
need to
to
be in the
go.
waiting room because then
Hit the
that'll be
road.
confusing.
Not really though.
No.
Yeah. Don't hit the road.
Oh, love
Yeah.
a good Texas accent. Come on.
ya?
It just
y'all?
just makes me happy.
Yeah. The Texas accent. Yeah, completely. Texas goth. There's a
I know.
scene.
And like a weird improv noise. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that,
Yeah.
but whatever. If everybody's
Well, it's probably that same thing as is like Utah. You live in this really, really red state where, if you're not, then you got to make sure you're really, really, really the opposite.
yeah, and you find your people and kind
And you
of
find your people and you do it together.
circle the wagons a little bit.
Yeah.
Safety in numbers.
Exactly. Safety in numbers.
Yeah, I picture a group of goths in Texas in the early '90s, kind of like it's a Texas reference, anyways. Like the Freshmen in Dazed and Confused. They're like getting chased around all day with the fucking guy, Ben Affleck with his dumb paddle so he can beat them all, and they're just like, Wiley, the main character at least, manages to evade him the entire time, which is killer.
Come here, goth.
Come here, goth.
I'm gonna beat your ass.
I'm gonna smack you,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
If
That's
you-
what
if
it used
you
to be
are a
like
boy.
for us skaters too, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, before
Oh, in
skateboarding became
Utah?
popular. It was probably always popular in
Yeah,
California.
no, I don't know a time before skateboarding, and
holy shit,
I grew up
dude.
30 minutes from Santa Cruz. Like,
Yeah.
Tony Caballero,
Oh, yep.
like his ramp was in the backyard, like a quarter mile from the elementary school I went to in 6th grade, and people would go hang out there. Or it's not Tony, Steve Caballero.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Is he gonna correct himself?
Tony Alva, Steve Caballero? No. Yeah, no, Caballero's ramp was in his backyard off of Sobey Road in Saratoga, and people would just go skate there. No, there wasn't that. I don't remember a time before skating.
Yeah, no.
I wasn't good at it.
We did. There was a time when skateboarding were not popular. You were the little skate punk kid, and you got your ass kicked and teased and
yeah, but you had a giant weapon with you all the time. Skateboard trucks
is true.
Vicious shit, man.
This is true.
All right.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I'm
Let's
glad we
wrap
got
it
him
up.
in. I'm glad he submitted a song, like I said.
I know, because I don't know that I would have thought to reach out to. I mean, there's so many bands. We're not like shotgun blasting everybody on Earth.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I was like this. It was like I saw that come into our inbox, and I was like, no, it can't. It's got to be another band named Pinkish Black. It can't be the Pinkish
the
Black.
other Pinkish.
Yeah, but then I'm like, then it's
no.
like, no way. Like it has to be them because there's no other bands named that. This is not coincidence.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I'm stoked. I'm stoked that we got to have him on. That's great because I fucking love them.
All right, so reminder, pay attention. We'll post up a video with the name of the winner for the YouTube subscribers contest, but continue to tell your friends to subscribe.
Yeah.
And
Please do.
And subscribe to the audio podcast. It is on every major platform, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and a whole bunch of others. Deezer, Pandora. I mean, really,
everything.
take your pick. Like,
if it is an audio platform, we're probably on it. And honestly, like, be sure to check out like our Facebook, our YouTube, our Instagram pages because we post shorts.
Yeah.
So you don't have to listen to all 3 hours of
highlights
every episode.
Yeah, if you're a highlights person.
If you're a highlights person,
if you
like
want to hear the short version of the best stories, we have that for you too.
Yes, we do.
In video form. All right. Well, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
Thanks for sticking with us. A little shy of 3 hours.
Oh, you weren't talking to me.
I'm talking on a
microphone. You're talking to the guests. Okay.
Yes.
I guess.
So we'll wrap up with a little bit of deep ASMR.
Let's do it, everybody.
A little Howard Stern.
Okay.
This has been
Another episode of
Anita Baker.
Thanks for joining us for another week of Blynd Submyshynz. See episode description for links to all artists discussed in this episode, and visit their sites to support them directly by buying music and merch. Share links to the podcast or YouTube videos with your friends, especially if they're in bands. Bands, if you want us to listen to your music on a future episode, please submit one song to blyndsub@gmail.com. That is blyndsub, blyndsub@gmail.com. Bandcamp links preferred, but not required. Find us on social media at Blynd Submyshynz. Full video episodes are available on our YouTube. Remember, we go in blind, so you don't have to. Blynd Submyshynz.